and you were living together. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And you were arrested.
Yes, ma'am.
For what?
It was drunk driving.
You claim that you loaned him $2,250.
Yes.
Called you from jail?
Yes.
Tell me what he said.
He said that he was incarcerated for a DUI. He didn't want to be represented by the public defender since it wasn't his first offense. He wanted to get a regular attorney, and that he needed some money for upkeep in there for his supplies.
That is not correct.
I'll let you respond in a minute. According to you, he needed $250 for supplies.
According to him, he asked for the $250.
For supplies?
Yes.
So what did you do?
I got cashier's checks, and I sent them to him. I sent one directly to the jail, and the $2,000 I sent to his house. Where,
to whose house?
To his house, or his mother's house, I'm not sure.
I thought you were living together.
No. He asked me to send it to his mother. She was going to take it to an attorney who was going to go to the jail and then discuss it. That's what I was told.
Okay, where did you take the money from?
I took the money from a bank account, and I had cash. So,
my cash.
Equal.
Just a minute. Do you have proof from where your accounts from which you withdrew the money? Because he says that he had $7,000.
$4,800 under the mattress.
$4,800 that you kept under a mattress.
That I kept under a mattress from the $7,000 I had prior to the vacation. I had $7,000 for a truck. Her and I took off for a little mini vacation. When we got back, I had $4,800 left, which I just stashed under the mattress till I could put it in a safer spot.
How long did you keep it under the mattress?
Just the day it was there. And then I was arrested.
Because your defense is that she took your money.
She took my money.
So show me where you got the money from, Miss Kilpatrick.
there was $1,000 in cash. I worked at...
$1,000 in cash from where?
$1,000 in cash. I worked as a bartender part-time, and that was from tips, and I used to keep that in my closet in a shoebox, so that cash came from there. The other cash came from my checking.
Do you have proof of that to show me?
No, I don't. Not from that. I just have the receipts from the money I paid for the receipts.
Let me see what you have.
These
Your Honor, this is almost 2 years ago. Why is this coming up now?
Well, she says she's asked you for the money.
I've been asking her for my money.
Did you ever sign a note to her that you would have the monies that you owed to her by March 20th?
Yes, I did. That was for a Tiffany glass that I broke, that she wanted replaced.
Mm-hmm. How did you break it?
I was in the sink and I turned the water on and it just fell over.
When you were living together?
Yes.
That doesn't sound like the kind of thing you would write a promissory note for. Mr. Griffin.
What does the promissory note say?
Do you remember signing it?
No, I don't.
You have a drinking problem?
Yes, I do.
Uh-huh. It says that you promised to satisfy all debts to the plaintiff for the sum so agreed by the date of March 20th. You don't dispute the fact that she gave your mother $2,000.
I am not disputing that, no.
Now, do you have any proof to show me, sir, with regard to this $7,000 that you say you got in cash for a truck?
When I went to the bank to get a copy of the withdrawal, it was a First Interstate. Mm-hmm. And now it's Cal-Fed, and the records only go back to January of '97.
It's all on microfiche.
I could not get it, just like I was trying to get a copy of this cashier's check that she sent, because I never personally saw the check. And only the purchaser can get a copy of that also.
Well, it's here, and I assume that you got it because it's made out to you. So I have the following questions. Ms. Kilpatrick, this did happen in 1996. And Mr. Griffin asks a very good question. And his question is, why did you wait this period of time, since I assume you broke up shortly thereafter?
No, it strung along for almost another 8 months. And I just had faith that he would come through with the money. We were in a relationship, and...
When did you finally terminate the relationship?
About 5 months ago.
Is that right?
It wasn't that long ago.
So it was more recent than that.
Yes.
Did he ever make any payments with regard to this money?
No.
Tell me exactly what the conversation was when he called you from the jail to ask you for the money.
That he got popped for a DUI, and it wasn't his first one, and he was really nervous about that. And he didn't feel that the public defender was going to represent him properly. He wanted to get a regular attorney. If I could please loan him the money, as soon as he got out, he would pay it back. He was in, let's see, August 3rd, and he got out of jail on August 24th.
This is my witness. I sent him over to pick up the money from Donna's.
Well, let him tell me.
He,
Go ahead, sir. First of all, who are you?
Ken Burkowski.
Mr. Burkowski, what do you know about this?
I received a call from Patrick in 1996, sometime in the summer. I don't recall exactly when it was. And he had stated what had happened. And he was incarcerated, and he had told me where he had hid some money and asked if I would go over and get it. I went over to get it, in which I had talked to Donna, and she would not let me in the house to get the money.
What did you say to her?
I asked if I could come into the house because Patrick had stashed some money somewhere so I could bail him out of jail.
And what did she say to you?
She wanted to know where the money was.
And what did you say to her?
I wouldn't tell her where the money was. He told me not to tell her where the money was.
How long do you know him?
All my life?
Had you been to the house before?
Yes.
So before you called Miss Kilpatrick from jail, did you call him?
yes.
And it was only after you called him and he went to the house and was unsuccessful at getting the money that you called the plaintiff.
Yes, and I told her where the location of the money was and to get it to me as soon as possible.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I've never seen that person before. We have never had a conversation, and he did not come to my house asking for the money. He did not.
And later today,
What I wanted to do is to make him feel like part of the company.
In order to make him feel part of the business, you used his credit card. Didn't that sound stupid to you?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donna Kilpatrick wants her former boyfriend, Patrick Griffin, to pay back bail money and attorney fees she loaned him. Patrick is accusing Donna of stealing money from under his mattress.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding your separating a few months ago.
The circumstances?
Yeah,
We
tell me
just
what
we
happened.
simply just don't get along. We argue and fight. I don't trust her.
Well, it's clear that you didn't trust her because you were living with her at the time and you wouldn't tell her where you stashed this money. Why was it that you didn't trust her? You trusted your friend, but you didn't trust her.
Well, I knew that if he were to get the money, that I would get it all back.
What made you think you wouldn't get it all back if she got the money?
I just know how Donna is. And it was just a hunch, which was correct. She's admitted taking this money. She just feels that it was owed to her for putting up with a bunch of...
I didn't take that money, and I never saw him in my life.
Ms. Kilpatrick, I want to tell you something. I have to make a judgment based upon who I believe is telling me the truth. It's unfortunate when two people live together and don't trust each other, but that's clearly the case in this case. I believe that you used his money to send to his family to provide him with an attorney. There is no question in my mind that you did provide him with $2,000. You have absolutely no proof to show me where you got this money from. If you want me to believe you, not only does he keep money under the mattress, but you keep money under the mattress.
I don't keep money under the mattress, and I had no knowledge that he had money under the mattress, and I have never seen that person before. We have never had a conversation, and he did not come to my house asking for the money. He did not.
Now, Mr. Griffin, can you tell me, sir, you lived together with this lady or had a continued a relationship with her over a period of a year after this happened, right? Didn't you ask for the rest of your money?
Yes, I have.
And what was the response?
The response, there wasn't much of a response. And I just thought that it would be taken care of eventually. I never really pressured Donna for it. I didn't agree with it. And then to top that off, she gave her brother my television set after I had left.
A very hard case. But I have to make a judgment call on it. It seems to me that neither of you made the proper arrangements for a loan. I somehow doubt that if he called you in jail, that he said to you, I need a loan for this money and we'll pay you back as soon as I get out of jail. If he called at all, he said, I need $2,000 for a lawyer, get it and send it to my mother. You're living with somebody, you do that. Right, Ms. Kilpatrick? Becomes more convenient to say, at this point, he said to me, it is a loan and I will pay you back as soon as I get out of jail. He didn't do that, then you continue to have a relationship with him for another year and a half. Mr. Griffin, without any proof, sir, because I don't believe your story that you can't get records from a bank going back to 1996, you're a pretty smart man, and you know that you can go to a bank and the banks must maintain records going back more than a year, even if banks merge. So you could figure out some way to get on film.
I don't think that
Listen to me, they do. They do. So I have no proof that you had $4,800 under a mattress. In any event, you continued after you came out of jail to have a relationship with this lady, and you lived together, and in all probability, if the relationship had gone on to become a more permanent one, you would not be standing here today. But neither one of you made the appropriate arrangements to memorialize the debt. Your case is dismissed, and the countersuit is dismissed. Go, be well, be happy.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
Okay.
And now the next case.
Parties on Ditloff versus Ditloff. Step forward, please.
28-year-old electrician Daniel Ditloff wants his brother, 34-year-old business owner Vern Ditloff, to pay his credit card bill.
Brothers, you were working for him. And used your credit card at his request so that he could charge some items for his business on your credit card. Is that a yes?
Yes,
And he still owes you the money.
exactly.
And you, sir, seem to acknowledge the fact that you owe him the money.
Yes, I do.
So what's your defense?
What was done is there was a credit card that was used for the company.
His credit card.
His credit card.
Why didn't you use your own credit card for the company?
Because at the point, we were trying to bring Dan into the company, be part of it. He's my brother. What I wanted to do is to make him feel like part of the company. So
Mr.
what
Ditloff,
I did...
let's start this question over again. And
Okay.
you tried to answer the question as if you were dealing with an intelligent human being. Okay? Why did you use your brother's credit card rather than your own? Let's start again so that you didn't tell me that story about trying to make him part of the company.
The reason why we did use his credit card was that we asked him, at the time, I did not have good enough credit to get my
That's
own
the
credit
answer.
card.
Okay. All right. It's not none of this touchy-feely business. You wanted him to feel part of the business. So you, in order to make him feel part of the business, you used his credit card. Didn't that sound stupid to you? I mean, didn't that sound a little dumb?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He mentioned that he would like to have this credit card paid. We agreed with him 100%. We would do it when we could.
It's ridiculous.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. 28-year-old electrician Daniel Ditloff wants his brother, 34-year-old business owner Vern Ditloff, to pay his credit card bill.
How much did you build up on this credit card? According to you, it was $3,000?
Yeah, $3,092.30.
So you built up this money on his credit card that you acknowledge that you owe him, so why don't you pay him?
I was paying it. What the agreement was on the credit card is we would make monthly payments for this credit card with no specific date that we would pay it off. We would pay it off when we could.
No, it's supposed to be paid off every month, sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
It was never meant to be paid off every month. We would pay the minimum balance and more when we could.
And more
The
when you
reason
could.
We would not miss his monthly payment.
Good. Now, listen to me, sir. I want you to answer my questions. When did you quit your job?
1/5, or actually 1/5/98 is the day we had the big argument, and I walked out because they were holding my check.
January 5th, 1998.
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
I'd like you to show me, sir, your canceled checks for January, February, and March to the credit card.
Now, there are no...
Or how about, and April.
Okay. The reason why there
No. Don't give me a reason. I didn't
Okay.
ask you for a reason yet.
There are
I
no-
said you agreed. You just told me you agreed to make payments on this credit card every month.
When he would bring the statement to us, the reason why there are none is because as of January 5th, he walked out of the company taking tools, materials, credit cards, cell phones, pagers that he would not return, with numerous phone calls from myself to bring these back, and I would give you your remaining paycheck, and we would take care of everything else. Now, this was not done.
What tools?
The tools that were in the
What tools?
The tools that we, the company, loaned
Tell
to
me,
him.
I'm asking you what tools, sir. You keep telling me
Oh,
tools.
sorry. Here's a
Tools.
copy of.
Yeah, no, I'm at the point.
And here's the receipts.
Just a second. Shh.
Oops, sorry.
Do you have a Milwaukee hammer drill of his?
No, I do not, Your Honor.
Craftsman saw, old model?
No,
What
I
is
do
that?
not.
3 plastic drop cloths? 5 company shirts? And 3 plastic containers? Are you kidding me or what?
No. Those are the things that were given to him from the company,
Oh, good.
as well as,
Listen,
if you will continue.
listen to me. He lends you his credit card. It's in the hole. You didn't pay him for January, February, March, April. I assume you're not going to make payments for May, June. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Pay your brother the money. $3,092.30. Be ridiculous, sir.
Why would, see, now, as from a business point of view, when your employee, when you loan him company, materials, equipment, $900 worth of company equipment
I
and
didn't see
materials.
$900 there.
I have all the receipts here
I
to
didn't see
show you.
$900 there.
When an employee walks out and he won't return your phone calls, I have had a police officer call him. I've had my lawyer call him to settle this thing.
Who called you, sir, to get his $3,092.30 back?
There was never a call stating that,
I've
ever.
written letters even. I have copies of the letters here.
Yes, he mentioned that he would like to have this credit card paid. We agreed with him 100%. We would do it when we could.
When you could? What kind of a response is that? I'll pay it when I can. The judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount
Thank
of
you, Your Honor.
$3,092.30. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. At the back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm beyond disappointed. It was my brother. Yes, he did help us out. We have never said anything that we wouldn't. But he walked out stealing equipment and tools from the company, and he would not return them.
It was his responsibility, and he stopped
responsibility to bring
communicating
tools.
with us as of 1/5. I think it's very sad that it's come to this between the brothers. They were very close.
I didn't want to take him to court because he is family, but I didn't have any choice. He left me no choice.
It's funny if I would have been asked.
You know?
Had her husband, Leonard Richardson, arrested after she says he beat her up. She bailed him out after 60 days. Now she's suing for the money she used.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 185 on the calendar in the matter of Richardson versus Richardson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mrs. Richardson, there are several parts of your complaint against the defendant, who is, in fact, your legal husband. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Let me understand this sequence of events here. For some reason, which I'm sure you will explain to me, the two of you decided to have a small civil wedding ceremony. Is that right?
Yes, we planned that, and we planned to have a wedding later when we got established.
And you say that sometime after the wedding, he assaulted you. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you had him arrested.
Yes, Your Honor. Well, not intentionally.
What?
No, I didn't. I called the police. Yes, Your Honor, I did.
And had him arrested.
Right.
And he spent a couple of months in jail.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you bailed him out.
Yes, Your Honor. He promised me when he filed his income tax, he was going to pay me back my funds.
From his income tax refund?
His income tax refund. He said if I bailed him out quicker, that he would has a good chance that he would go back on his job.
And you were ready to take him back?
Was I ready to take him back at the time? I was going to give it a trial basis just to see how he act when he get out of jail, yes.
Now, you were in jail for 2 months, sir?
Yes, I was.
Did she bail you out?
Yes.
How much did she put up to bail you out?
Well, the bail was $50,000, but I don't actually know how much she put up. But
How much did you have to put up to get him out of jail?
I put up $2,500.
Okay.
Okay, with monthly payments of $250, and I'm only working part-time.
Just a minute. $2,500 is the cash that you actually gave to the bail bondsman?
Right.
And then there was another $2,500?
Right, that I paid monthly.
So the whole bail was $5,000?
Right.
How many payments have you already made?
I only made like one payment because like I'm working part-time.
So you still owe the bail bondsman money?
Right. I still owe everybody else. And you know, and I'm trying. I only work part-time, and there's only so much I can do.
Can I see the paperwork for the bail bondsman, please?
Sure you can, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Richardson, how many times have you been in jail, sir? I just want you to think about it for a second before you give me an answer, because I'm really smart. I do my homework. So how many times have you been in jail, sir?
about twice.
About twice is not an answer.
Twice.
For what?
For possession.
Possession of what? Drugs
Marijuana.
or what?
Marijuana.
Possession of marijuana?
Yes.
When?
This was in '89.
And after that, sir? Give me the next one.
I think it was in '92.
For what?
Same thing.
Nothing other than marijuana, sir?
Nothing else I can recall.
Both of those were misdemeanors. Did you have just fines, or were you incarcerated?
Incarcerated.
For how long? In '89?
I think one time I did about 6 months.
You did 6 months. You must have had a lot of marijuana. And on the other one?
I can't recall.
More than 6 months or less than 6 months?
I think it was more than 6 months.
More than 6 months. Well, if you did more than 6 months, sir, it was probably felony weight drugs, right? Right?
That's what they considered it.
That's what they said. Now, so that's in, let's get back to this. That's in '92. And when was your next arrest after '92, sir?
My next arrest after '92.
Think. Hard.
I think I got, let me see, 93.
93?
Right.
For what?
I went for the same thing, but it was just
You don't learn, Mr. Richardson. How long did you stay in jail in '93?
I didn't do no time.
No time?
No.
So you got a freebie?
Right.
How was '94 for you, sir?
I don't remember '94. I don't remember '94.
'94. '94 was a good year. Let's move on to '95.
What happened in '95?
I'm asking you.
I don't remember. I don't recall.
Well, after '93, sir, when was the next time you were arrested? Think hard.
'94, '95.
94, 95, maybe 96, and then we come into '97, and you got arrested for this, so you were in jail for 60 days, right?
Yes.
Well, so far, sir, we've got more than a couple, two, including this one. We have a couple, four or 5, including this one. Miss Richardson, let me ask you a question. Did you know how many times he had been incarcerated when you agreed to marry him?
Yes, he knew.
No.
Did you know how much time he had spent in
'Cause
jail?
he went to Frisco for some years. I lost contact.
You mean you didn't know how many times he had been in jail?
She knew.
Well, like around about maybe, no, not exactly. I
She
never
knew.
really know how many times he's
How many
been.
times have you been arrested?
How many times have I been arrested?
That's my question, Mrs. Richardson.
Okay, I was arrested one time. I stayed in jail a week. That was like maybe 10, 20 years ago.
And since then, nothing.
Nothing. No. I learned my lesson.
That's almost clean. That's almost a clean slate. So you knew, and I believe that you probably knew, that he had spent some time in jail. Spent some time in jail, and according to you, beat you up. And you still were going to give him another chance.
I've been knowing him for 8 years. This never happened to me. He never hit me before. Never.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, blows means you hit him and he hit you.
Only thing I did at the end was throw a shoe.
What?
One shoe.
One shoe.
One shoe.
And later today,
He told me he just saw her and he just flipped. So I said, what the hell you mean flipped? Then I asked him, why can't I come over to his house and just flip? Excuse me.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robbie Gilmore Richardson says her estranged husband, Leonard Richardson, owes her part of the $50,000 bail to get him out of jail.
Now, tell me about the assault, because he says he's not going to pay you back because you really started this whole thing yourself.
No, I didn't start
All right,
anything.
but that's his...
He told me why.
Hey! That's his defense. I don't say I believe his defense. What I'm asking you is, you tell me how this occurred, this assault. Tell me what happened.
Okay. One day we was getting out the car, going in the store, and you know, it was already something up in the air. You know, he was upset about something, okay? And then, you know, some words were passed and licks were passed.
Nah.
Look, just a second. Words were passed. You said something to him.
Yeah,
He said something.
Right.
You said something to him. He said something to you. And then I believe you just said to me very quietly, licks were passed. Licks, I assume you mean blows. Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, how did that start?
It started because he thought I was somewhere for about
She thought I was
he was
somewhere.
upset at me.
No, you thought I was
for
out
Hey!
running around.
Mr. Richardson?
He thought he was upset with me that he didn't know about where my whereabouts was at a particular time.
Okay.
Okay, but
so you're having
What
an
was
argument
that?
verbally back and forth. Mr.
Right.
Richardson, you interrupt her again, you're going to be in serious trouble.
Okay, and then after that it was, you know, some blows.
Well, blows, I know. Well, blows means you hit him and he hit you.
No, I didn't hit him.
You didn't hit him?
No.
All right.
You didn't hit him at all?
Only thing I did at the end was throw a shoe. One shoe.
One shoe.
One shoe.
And how many times did he hit you?
I don't remember that.
Were you seen by a doctor?
No, because I'm a nurse, so I went home and patched it up myself.
Did you take any photographs of your injuries?
It was photographs taken, but it's police property and I can't get a hold to it.
Oh,
I tried, but I can't get
okay,
it.
so you didn't go to the doctor. You were, in fact, injured.
Right.
Where were
right.
you injured?
My face.
Mm-hmm.
My back was all scraped up. Mm-hmm. And I had glass in my back.
Now, what happened with that criminal case, Mr. Richardson? Did you appear in court when you were supposed to?
Yes, I did.
And what happened with the case?
Well, it's still pending.
What? It's still pending?
Yes.
Well, I'm certainly not going to ask you any questions about this assault, sir. But that's really not what this case is all about, because you have a lawyer in that case?
Yes, I do.
Just tell your lawyer you're going to proceed with this civil case
Yes.
before the
He
criminal
told me
case?
It was all right.
You did?
Yes.
And the lawyer said it was okay?
Yes.
I would suggest you get yourself another lawyer.
So, excuse me.
In any event, now,
Excuse me,
Mr.
Your
Richardson,
Honor.
the only thing I want to ask you, sir, is your bail was set at $50,000, $5,000 cash. You put up $2,500 to get you out of jail, and she has to pay out another $2,500 to the bail bondsman, which is 10% of your bail, $5,000. You want to tell me why you don't think you should give her the money back?
Because I never told I would pay her.
Does the fact that you said you were going to get your income tax check refund back and that you would pay her the money out of your refund check, does that have a familiar ring of truth to it?
I would help her with some of the money, yes.
You told her you would help her with some of the money?
Yeah, if
Oh,
we was
now
gonna be together.
now we're getting somewhere. And how much help were you prepared to give her?
Well, it was only $500. I can go with $200, $300.
Now, you say she did this getting you out of jail on her own. At the time when they said to you, Mr. Richardson, you are free to go, did you know it was your wife who had posted the bail?
Yes.
Yes. Did you say to them, I'm sorry, I can't go out of jail. I want to stay in jail because I can't pay her back? Did you say that?
No.
So, Mr. Richardson, pay her the money. Judgment in this case is for the
Excuse
plaintiff.
me. Excuse me, I have something else to say, Your Honor.
What?
I had paid the attorney.
Madam,
And I got
legal limit.
I got collect phone calls.
Do you understand? When I'm speaking, nobody else speaks.
Oh, excuse me, Your Honor. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Your
The
Honor.
financial limit in this court is $5,000. According to your bail receipt, that's what you owe. Both you paid and you owe to the bail bondsman. I'm not interested in any of your other claims, madam, because you've already reached the maximum that this court can give you. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back door to your right, please.
He promised me when he filed his income tax that he was going to pay me my funds. $2, $5, something. $10,
too.
something. Give me
You got
something.
that.
No.
Even more. She called the police on her own, lied and called the police. And then she turned around and wanted to bail me out. Then she wanted me to pay her back all the money.
I don't think so. You didn't even give me $2, not 50 cents.
And now the next case.
Parties on Norris versus Lambert. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Latacia Norris says her former boyfriend, 20-year-old Kenneth Lambert, snatched her gold chain necklace.
I'm going to turn to you, sir. You dated the defendant for a while. You were her boyfriend.
Yeah, I was.
And then you broke up.
Yeah.
But while you were her boyfriend, you gave her a gold chain. Right?
Nah, that ain't right. Yeah, it's right.
What?
Nah, that's not right. Hers was stolen, so I gave her mine so she could have one when
While
I was
you were her
stolen.
boyfriend.
Yeah.
So you didn't buy her this gold chain, you gave her yours as a
Yeah.
present,
Yes.
right? Then you broke up.
Yes.
Then you were at a dance together and you saw her dancing around with somebody else.
Yes.
And that made you mad.
Yes.
So you went over to her and you tried to grab the gold chain she was wearing off her neck, according to you, right?
Yes.
Didn't come off right away with the first pull, so you pulled it again.
Yes.
And this time you did break it.
Yes.
But it turns out that it wasn't the chain you had given her, but a chain that she had borrowed from her mother, right?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He needed a car.
I know.
Just a second. How unreasonable can you be? He needed a new Camaro.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Latacia Norris wants her former boyfriend, Kenneth Lambert, to pay for the gold necklace he snatched.
Step up here. You called him.
Yes.
You're Mrs. Norris?
Yes.
And what did you say to this gentleman when you called him?
When the incident first happened, I called him and asked him what right did he have to snatch on my daughter in the first place. He had no reason to be snatching on her, and why did he do it? He told me he just saw her and he just flipped. So I said, what the hell you mean flipped? Then I asked him, why can't I come over to his house and just flip? Excuse me. I was quite angry. As a matter of fact, this chain that Kenny did buy Latasha as a gift, it's this tiny. The chain that I had, it's this thick. I left a picture there. Surely you could tell that chain.
Get a picture? Let me see. When you started to say, you thought surely he could tell the difference between the chain
absolutely.
that he bought her and this chain.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he thinks that you fed it and it grew.
Maybe so. And,
okay. So this is the chain he broke. Now, he did say that he would replace it, right?
Yes, he did. When I spoke to Kenneth, he told me he would buy another chain. So sometime around November or so, he and my daughter left my house, going downtown to the Jewelry Mart to buy a chain. She told me Kenneth had bought a chain. So Kenneth told me he didn't have enough money to pay for it. He was going to put it on layaway. And I said, okay, that's fine. Maybe I'll have my chain by the first of the year.
And according to you, it was $300?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So it was $300 and he put down $25.
Yes.
Is that right, Kenneth?
Yes.
But then you didn't finish paying for it.
No, I didn't.
Why not?
I had a child.
You had a child?
Yeah. And my child is more important than that chain. So I paid. I took care of my daughter. And on top of that, I bought a brand new car. So I didn't have the money to pay for it.
Run this by me again. You said it very quickly. You had a child.
Yeah.
And you went out and bought a brand new car.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of car did you buy?
Camaro.
A brand new Camaro. How much you pay for that a month?
About $340.
$340 a month. And how much do you pay for your child support?
$273.
There's your priority for you. Do you love that priority? $340 for your Camaro. And how much to what for your child?
$273.
And nothing for the chain?
Nah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Now.
May I please add?
Sure.
I spoke with Kenneth throughout the time from now up until a month and a half ago. And I asked Kenny, I said, Kenny, when are you going to buy my chain? I said, you know, I call you or whatever, and you never return calls. He told me that they couldn't make long-distance calls on their phones. So I went by his house one day, and his cousin was there. And I said, Donnie, where's Kenny? And he says, I don't know. I said, well, Donnie, come on now. You know, tell Kenny I'm looking for him. I wrote him a note and said, Kenny, you lied to me. You told me you was going to get my jewelry. You lied.
He needed a car.
I know.
Just a second. How unreasonable can you be? He needed a new Camaro.
So meanwhile, his cousin here said to me, oh man, I thought Kenny took care of that a long time ago. Kenny don't take care of nothing, right? I said, yeah, that's true.
Well, Kenny takes care of some things. He takes
Yeah,
care
the
of making
car,
a
the
baby
baby.
and a Camaro.
Yeah. So I called Kenneth on his job.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
You go get your chain. It was $300, the one that you picked out?
Yes.
Go pick it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You want to step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, Doris Brinkley for payments made on a car before it was repossessed.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 611 on the calendar in the matter of Turner versus Brinkley. Fine, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Sir, ma'am, have a seat.
All right, Ms. Brinkley, let me see if I understand this rather convoluted story. The plaintiff is your boyfriend's daughter.
That is correct.
And you had a car that you were interested in getting rid of,
Right.
selling. You still had payments on that car to your credit union.
That is correct.
So you and the plaintiff agreed that she would take the car, is that right?
Yes.
And you would take over the payments.
True.
And that was your agreement, that
Yes.
you would make timely payments on this car. What kind of car was it?
It was a 91 Honda Civic.
And in what month did you take the car?
In July of 98.
And then, according to these papers, there was some problem with the credit union, and they now want to repossess the car.
That is correct, Your Honor. The payments were neither timely or consistent.
You still have the car?
Yes, I do.
Now, Ms. Turner, what I find interesting is you're suing her.
Correct.
For the amount that you paid so far on the car.
True.
Now, you've had the car July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, and March.
True.
9 months.
Mm-hmm.
True, right?
Yes, that's true.
And you use this car to get to work?
True. In other places.
And other places. And how much can you prove to me that you've paid on this car?
Well, I have my my receipts that I have for the.
Have you paid every month?
Yes, I have.
Have you paid late?
Only on one occasion.
Your
Let
Honor?
me see.
This one was only on one occasion.
Well, you can't show me just the one that you paid late. Show me all the others.
Oh, okay. This is the first one as well.
She's not going to do this one at a time. There are 9 months here.
There you go.
Okay. What day of the month are the payments due?
The 15th of the month.
Did you explain that to her?
Yes, I did.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So here we have one that was purchased on the 22nd of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Well, evidently you missed one payment. You missed a payment because then you made 2 payments in October.
Yes, I did. Mm-hmm.
Well, so it wasn't timely in October or September. Is that right?
Yes.
Then you've got one here on November the 30th.
True.
Well, that's not the 15th of the month.
I know.
Well, that's more than one. So far we have of the
The
three
one
that you
that's
gave
for
me,
three.
all three were late.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we have 1, 2, 3.
That one right there covers 2 months, which is for, I believe, June and July. That's why it's $375.
Your Honor?
The payments are $255?
It's $232.
Well, 232 times 2 is not 375.
But she told me that was the amount.
Whatever. I'm just telling you, that's not 2 payments.
Well,
it's
she
one
told me
payment
that
and a
amount,
couple
so I
of
was
days.
going by what she had said to me.
1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 payments here.
True.
You keep saying true, as if I'm not getting something, madam. You had the
Okay.
car 9 months. You made 5 payments.
In December of '98, she told me verbally not to pay any more payments to the car due to the fact that she told me that she would call me back.
Your
When
Honor?
she called me back
Yeah.
and told me, she said that the credit union wanted a payoff or they wanted the car. And I told her, okay, that's fine. So she said, well, we'll deal with this situation in January of '99.
Put your hand down.
So when January came and she told me that they wanted to get the car refinanced in my name or they wanted to pay off, I told Doris, as well as Star from the credit union, I needed this in writing of the closing balance. Never got it, never received it, never.
Just a second. Shh. Madam, Ms. Turner, just listen to me.
Okay.
You called the people who had the note for the car. You said, I want a payoff. You didn't get it. You call them back, and you say, I didn't get the payoff. What you did was just stop making payments.
Because it was told to me verbally not to make any more payments to get
By
the car
whom?
financed from Doris.
Did you? Simple. Did you ever tell us to stop making payments on the car?
No, Your Honor, that is not true.
Excuse me, that is incorrect.
What I told her, Your Honor, was that the credit union was pressing for outside financing and that she had to get outside financing or turn the car into the credit union.
Okay, well,
You did not tell me not to pay
No,
the
I
payment
did
of
not
Speak to each
December.
other.
Okay,
Hey,
okay.
ladies. Who are you?
I'm her boyfriend.
What do you know about it?
I used to. I actually talked to her on several occasions about the car.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you? Not yeah. Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Did you ever drive the car?
Yeah. Yes. Perfect. I drove
And
it a lot.
You drove it a lot.
Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry.
And when you stand still.
Oh.
And when you drove the car, did you drive it last month?
Oh. I drove it.
Did you drive it last
I drove
month?
it last month.
Did you drive it last week?
I drove it last week.
Perfect.
But I don't want to say that when she called, she said not to make any payments, right? We trust in her that, you know, and you know, in our best interest that not to make the payments. We believe in her that, you know, that she has something else in mind. But don't get me wrong, the car was a blessing that she gave it to us. But she was, it was just all kind of stuff. First she said, when she got mad over the ticket or whatever, first she said that the credit union didn't believe us. Didn't believe her. First she said they didn't believe her.
Sure.
And then they
I'm
believed
just going to let
that
him
we
finish
had the car or
it.
whatever. But,
Are you almost finished?
Huh?
Are you almost finished?
Oh, yeah, I'm
Good,
finished.
sit. Sit down. Ms. Turner, when I read these papers, both your claim and her counterclaim, I thought both of you were crazy. You've been driving a car for 9 months. 9 months. You've paid a total on that car that you've been driving for 9 months, maybe $1,300. In total is what you've paid for the car that you've driven around for 9 months. You can't rent a car for that. For 9 months?
That's what I'm saying.
You're absolutely right. So you want her to give you back everything that you've paid for the car.
That's right, including other things that I've got done. I got maintenance done on this car as well.
Who gives a rat's behind whether you got maintenance done on the car? You drove it for 9 months. Who do you expect to make a present to you? The credit union?
We gotta get a car back. We gotta get a car back, so.
Good. Renting any car, even a rent-a-wreck, you can't rent for $200 a month. You had the car 9 months, it's $1,800. That's a lot more than you've been paying. Forget your claim. Now, let's go to your counterclaim, which is equally as stupid.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
Grow up. You're driving a car now for the last 3 months and not paying on it. What do you expect them to do, send you a greeting card?
And later today.
I mean, you have to know my mother. I mean, this is a woman who you can mop the floor and she'll find a strand of mop hair and ask you why you didn't mop the floor.
I want you to be quiet now.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Quanisha Turner is suing her father's girlfriend, Doris Brinkley, for payments made on a car before it was repossessed.
You say that you haven't seen the car.
No, I haven't.
But you want to be compensated for all the aggravation, A, for all the aggravation, and B, because you think that it's going to probably need a lot of repair. Shh, quiet. A lot of repairs, and there was damage done on it.
That is incorrect, Your Honor. What I'm suing for, my counterclaim states that I'm suing for recovery of the car pending assessment of damage because I received a phone call from Lavelle Johnson that the car was torn up when I placed a stolen car report on it when I tried to recover it through the police.
Listen to me. First of all, it's up to the credit union. It's up to the credit union to get that car back. They're looking for it.
Yes, they are.
They're looking for it.
Yes, they are.
Excuse me.
What?
I would like to know, how could she say that she ever had the car when she told the credit union lawyer named Mike that he called my job and told me that she told him that I took the car forcibly from her. That's why she reported the car stolen on me on February the 2nd. Now, I work for a bank.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
That could have been a felony on me, and I could have lost my job. He called me at my job numerous of times, just back to back, back to back.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
Grow up.
Well.
You're driving a car now for the last 3 months and not paying on it. What do you expect them to do? Send you a card?
How can I send
Send you a
payments if
greeting
she told
card?
me verbally not to pay
You call up the credit union. That's what I'm telling you. Grow up.
I have. They won't give me any information because the car is in her name.
Very
She
good.
won't give me
Listen,
they wouldn't give me any
This
information.
lawsuit is very easy. You have a claim against her, you think, for all the money that you spent on a car. I just told you that you have a claim against her for nothing. You've been driving around a car for the last 9 months, and you spent less than about $150 a month to drive around in a car, use it to get to work, use it for entertainment. You are entitled to nothing back. The credit union said, I want my payments in a timely fashion. If you had made your payments, quiet, on the 15th of the month, as you were told, maybe the credit union would have said, fine, we got somebody who's a good payer. You, on the other hand, want to have prospective possible damages to the car. If this car is recovered, and I assume it will be, you will see whether there are any damages done to the car. At that time, you have perfect right to file a claim. Right now, I can't tell what the damages are to the car. Your counterclaim is, quiet. Your counterclaim is dismissed. And your claim is dismissed. And I'm telling you that that car better be returned, otherwise they're going to come to get you. And if you work, especially if you work for a bank, I would suggest to you that you run. Don't walk. into the car that brought you here and turn it over to the credit union. Say nothing. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Can I have my receipts back?
I think Ms. Judy was fair in her ruling on the situation.
I just feel that you shouldn't do business with your father, baby mothers, you know, because he has plenty of kids. So, you know, that's all I'm thinking. That's all I have to say.
And now the next case.
Parties on Brito versus Parker. Step forward, please.
49-year-old administrator Severina Brito is suing her son, 26-year-old college student Colangelo Parker Jr., for a huge phone bill. Colangelo claims he paid by doing chores.
Mrs. Brito, this is your son?
Yes.
How old are you?
26.
According to your complaint, your son was visiting for a couple of months. Is that right?
That's correct.
How long had you been out of the house?
I left in '92 to go to school.
And you came back to visit when?
November 5th, the day before my birthday.
Okay. And you came back for a long visit?
2 weeks the first time, then a second time since then.
Second time, how long?
Since November 17th, totally, because I missed my mom, so I had to come back.
How long were you visiting your mother in total?
In total?
A month?
3 months.
3 months?
Yes.
Were you working when you were there?
Not at first, no.
After a while, did you start to work?
Yes, I did. I now work.
So while you were living with your mother, you were working?
No, after I left my mom, I started working.
According to your complaint, while your son was visiting with you, he racked up a phone bill that made your eyes pop.
Sure did.
How much was his phone bill?
Total $488.75, and I rounded it off to $500 due to the aggravation.
$488.95.
Flabbergasted.
Children always give you aggravation. Let me see the phone bill. Looks like an encyclopedia.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Didn't you ever hear of writing a letter?
I mean, I was writing as well. I mean, it's that so many friends you can only write and so many friends you have to call. I could write you a letter, but it's better for me to sit here and talk to you.
Not for me.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Severina Brito is suing her son, Colangelo Parker Jr., for running up a big phone bill while he was home from college.
Who do you know in Richmond, Virginia?
All my friends.
All your friends. And in Charleston, South Carolina?
Same friends from Virginia.
What about in Baltimore?
Same thing, friends I went to school with in Virginia.
Well, who do you expect to pay this phone bill?
I was going to pay her back, but
Yeah.
it just, in turn, I guess I just couldn't expedite the expenses to pay her back in time.
How much money have you given her?
None by now, I mean.
Well, that's a none. I mean, did you say to her, I started working, Mom, I can give you $50 a month?
Yeah, as soon as I told her I started working.
So how much did you give her?
I haven't given her any yet. I just started about 2.5 weeks ago.
Well, what do you think she's supposed to do with all these bills?
I told her I would pay them, but she just, it's like, you know, I try, you know, I do stuff at home, you know, I watch my brother. She'll ask me to do errands. I try to help out as much as I can.
Just a second. Are you suggesting to me that because you did these certain chores at home, you were entitled to use the phone and abuse it to this extent?
Well, she knew I was using the phone, and I have many friends I can call, you know, and I would only call out seldomly. It wouldn't be, it may seem an over-excessive amount, but it was very seldom for the amount of times I was on the phone, because I was at home all day doing chores around the home.
Let's see. You started at 8 o'clock in the morning calling Richmond, Virginia. You called them at 8:09 for 1 minute. Evidently, they weren't home. You got a busy signal. You said, I'll call you right back, because at 8:10 you called again, and this time you stayed on the phone for 13 minutes. So you started at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
And you finish up on the same date at 11:59. So you start at 8 o'clock in the morning, you finish up at 11:59 p.m. But you're still not finished, because at 12:35 a.m. the next day, 35 minutes later, you got on the phone, you talked to somebody for a half hour in Hampton, Virginia. When you got finished talking to them in Hampton, Virginia, you called somebody else in Richmond, Virginia.
It's all schoolmates in the same state.
Didn't you ever hear of writing a letter?
I mean, I was writing as well. I mean, it's that so many friends you can only write and so many friends you have to call. I mean, direct conversation it's a communication thing. Like,
Please,
I could
please,
write you a letter, but
please.
it's better for me to sit here and talk to you.
Not for me.
You know, it's just, you know, I miss my mom and I miss my friends. I called my mom when I was out in Virginia, so I
Are
called
you
my
serious
friends
with me, Mr. Parker?
Yes, I'm very serious.
Are you serious with me? I mean,
Definitely.
I read your answer. Even in your answer, you say that when your mother found you on the phone, sitting there being on the phone instead of out there looking for a job all day long, she would say to you, who are you talking to? You're talking long distance? And according to you, you only lied a little.
Definitely.
You would say you only lied a little.
I mean, you have to know my mother. I mean, this is a woman who you can mop the floor and she'll find a strand of mop hair and ask you why you didn't mop the floor. I mean,
Mr. Parker.
She's obsessive like that.
Mr. Parker.
I have to tell her what she has to hear.
Mr. Parker.
Yes, ma'am.
Did anybody sentence you to go home from a jail? Did a judge sentence you to go home?
No, but my mother was my judge and she sentenced me, yes.
No, just a second, Mr.
Because she was
Parker.
mad when I was away. She flies me out here, I'll be with my friends, and she said, you don't spend time with me, make them pay for your ticket the next time. I say, wow, Mom, I'm sorry, you can't hang with my friends out here either.
I want you to be quiet now.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
Your mother let you stay in the house. You didn't pay rent.
Correct.
Your mother fed you 2 or 3 or how many meals a day she fed you?
Maybe
When
one.
you walked into the bedroom, you turned on the light where you were sleeping. She paid for the electricity.
No, I slept on the sofa.
When you walked into the living room and turned on the light, she paid for the electricity, right?
Exactly.
She paid for the air conditioning when it was hot, and she paid for the heat when it was cold. In effect, really, Mr. Parker Jr., she paid for the air you breathed when you were living with her. So if you watched your little brother occasionally, mopped up the floor, did a few dishes, or did a few little chores around the house, you were working for your basic keep. Your basic keep doesn't involve sitting like a 15-year-old on the phone from 8 o'clock in the morning until well after midnight, talking to your nearest and dearest friends and lying to your mother about being on the phone long distance. You owe her $488.95. Grow up and pay her.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Ever since he pledged with this fraternity and going away to college, he come back barking and stomping. I think that paddling on the behind must have clogged up his brains.
He has so many skills and talents that he depends on them instead of just being straight. I want him to be straight, be honest, and be responsible.
I'm just not understanding. I mean, the $488, I have no idea where it came from. I guess she went back through my childhood when I was 1 to phone calls. I just really am not aware of it.
Be good.
All right, thank you.
Parties on Moriarty versus Peter Fay. Step forward, please.
28-year-old student pilot Elliot Moriarty claims flight instructor Laszlo Peterfay is responsible for his plane running out of gas, forcing him to land on a California freeway. Elliot says he now suffers from fear of flying.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 648 on the calendar in the matter of Moriarty versus Peter Fay. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Mr. Moriarty, I really, after all these years on the bench, thought that I had seen everything until I read your complaint. You were taking flying lessons.
Yes, Your Honor.
From him.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long did you take flying lessons from him?
I believe it was approximately 3 months.
Had you taken flying lessons from anyone else?
Not flying lessons, but a thrill ride at Torrance Airport.
What?
A thrill ride.
Thrill ride?
Right.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm an assistant manager.
What kind of company?
A restaurant.
You get to the restaurant by driving your car?
Bike.
You don't have a car?
No, Your Honor.
How old are you?
28 now.
So you were taking flying lessons, and then there came a time when you were flying solo, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you ran out of gas.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you landed on a freeway.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you're suing him.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now you can explain that to me.
The explanation is this, Your Honor, that upon my entire training, I was never trained or taught on how to fuel an airplane. It's not like a car. I've asked him one time before, how do you fuel up? He told me, don't worry about it now, I'll show you later.
Fuel up. Now, what do you have to do to fuel up? When you're driving a car, you pull into either one of two lanes. Either it says full service, the one that I like, or self-service, the one that I don't understand at all. And then you get out, and I've seen people, they open up the thing, and they put the thing in the thing, and you fill up your car with gas.
I understand.
Does it work the same way with a plane?
No, Your Honor.
Do you put the gas in the plane?
No, Your Honor.
So somebody else puts the gas in a plane?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you go to a plane gasoline station.
No, what happens is, I guess you call somebody, either a frequency or by phone,
Yes.
and I was never included in...
You don't want me to think you're stupid, do you? So just answer my question. Periodically, a plane needs gasoline because it doesn't fly on dreams.
Right.
Now, is there a gauge in the plane that it says fuel?
Yes, there is, Your Honor.
And it has a little stick? Because I know about that stick. With the cars today, they even talk to you. You're out of gas, you're out of gas. But I assume that they don't have that in planes. They have a gauge. You do know how to look at the gauge.
Yes, Your Honor.
And when it starts to get on empty,
Well, I can give you the explanation.
Then you say to yourself, I think I need gas.
Well, here it is, Your Honor. Upon my solo cross country, I have to perform a dual cross country. Throughout that dual cross country, we did not fuel up at Santa Barbara or Santa Ynez, which...
So just a second. You went together on a dual cross country
beforehand.
Before you went solo.
Yes, Your Honor.
And during that trip, you didn't fuel.
No, Your Honor. We fueled up at Van Nuys, and when I made my flight plan, I put 4.5 hours, which is a direct reflection of a full tank for the type of aircraft I was flying. Now, his job as an instructor is to review my flight plan and to make sure there's no mistakes on it whatsoever. Upon his evaluation of my reviewing my flight plan, he just, I don't know, totally missed it. And we together went down, did a check, checked the airplane. I checked the fuel on the wings to make sure that it corresponds with the amount of fuel on the needle, which was approximately, if I remember correctly, about 2/3. I told him what it was in there. It was fine with him. So I'm the student, and he's the instructor. If it's fine with him, I felt, okay, then his judgment is correct.
Before I got in a plane, there'd be a full tank of gas, that's for sure. I mean, if I were ever stupid enough to get in a plane unless I had to go someplace.
Right, but he was totally aware of how much fuel I had. He didn't say anything about it.
You have no responsibility for this. I understand from here, from your papers, that you have footage of you landing on the freeway?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm dying to see that.
Very lucky, Your Honor.
Look at that plane. Looks like something you put together with those little sticks. One fits in, you know what I'm talking about, Bert? Remember those things we used to have as kids? Put balsam wood.
That's right.
Right? Flat thing, and you put one in the other, and you rubber band, and you go.
Little glider.
Wouldn't trust my life to one of those things.
Your Honor?
What?
Okay, well, first of all, see, all this started over him refusing to pay me my unused fee. After the incident, I basically induced naturally this fear of flying. I discontinued it.
So is this what it's about? You discontinued your flying, and you want your money back for what you didn't use?
Let me clarify that really good. Okay, when I discontinued, I wanted the remainder of my unused fees.
Right.
Now, he sent me a check the first time for $90.
How much do you think it is?
$147 and...
$147?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So why are you suing him for $3,100?
That's what I would like to get into. This basically escalated up to this point because when he decided to keep my money, as if that wasn't enough experience for me, it made me rethink everything over again. And this is what I concluded that, okay, I ran out of fuel, I landed on the freeway. Okay, Whose fault is it? Was it really my fault or was it his fault? When I rethought everything over, throughout my training, I've been given inadequate training and lack of supervision. His lack of supervision is not reviewing my flight plan correctly, as he is responsible to do so by the federal aviation regulations. And in one of his letters, he stated to me, without dispute, he will refund my money back. As of to date, he has not.
Refund how much money?
The $147.
Fine, I have no problem with giving you back your $147. I have a problem with $3,100.
Well, if I can
you don't
establish...
if you don't like, sir, the kind of instruction that you're getting from a pilot, then you say, I'm not satisfied with the quality of the training that you're giving me. What you're saying to me is a 28-year-old man who lands his plane on a freeway and walks away without a scratch, instead of getting down on the floor and thanking God that you landed on the freeway, decided to sue somebody. That's America.
No, Your Honor.
That's America. Not only decide to sue him for the remainder of your outstanding fees that you had already prepaid, that even I could understand, but sue him for everything else, because we're a country of a lot of navel gazers. You know, you sit down here and say, now let me see, $147, but I really think that he gave me a fear of flying, and he didn't train me right all the 3 months I was a student, and you had a lot of time to think about it. You're lucky you weren't thinking about it with all of your appendages in casts. It would be ridiculous.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When you wrote him the letter, you should have said, here's the check for $147. I'm very sorry you're not using my services anymore. Goodbye and good luck. And next time, try an airport.
And later today,
You used her library card and you took out 23 books. And then she starts getting billed for $1,000 because you didn't return the books. Baloney.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Elliot Moriarty says his flight instructor, Laszlo Peterfey, is responsible for his plane running out of gas, forcing him to land on a California freeway. Laszlo is countersuing for loss of work.
Now, let's get to your ridiculous counterclaim. You want to tell me about it, or you just want to say, I'm sorry, I'm withdrawing it?
Actually, no, ma'am.
All right, so now I'm ready for you.
The counterclaim is I wrote Mr. Moriarty a letter stating that I don't want to dispute the $147. And several days after this, I got a letter from the FAA. And based on the information that Mr. Moriarty provided the FAA, they wrote me a letter saying that if I don't respond within 10 days, my pilot certificates will be suspended.
Mm-hmm.
My livelihood is flying. So this jeopardized my career.
But they did not remove your certification.
Well, I had to go for a re-examination.
Just a second. You had a hearing and had to go for a recertification. Is that right? Now, what you're suggesting, sir, is that he does not have the right to complain about what he believes is inadequate training to the appropriate authority, which in this case was the FAA. Well, the First Amendment to the Constitution says you can complain to anybody about anybody else as long as you are not doing it out of malice. And I believe that even though he's wrong, he believes, after looking at his belly button for a long time, that you didn't give him adequate training, because if you had given him adequate training, he wouldn't have taken off in a plane that didn't have a full tank of gas.
Well, I can prove that I gave him adequate training.
Listen to me. He says he showed you the flight plan when he was going solo, that there was 3/4 of a tank of gas there, and he says he landed on the freeway. All right? So he said he didn't get adequate training. He's allowed to complain to you. I am not going to give him $3,100 that he's asking for, because as far as I'm concerned, he's a grown man, and a grown man who drives a car and who drives a plane ought to know that when the needle goes to empty, you got to get gas. So I'm going to give him his $147, and I tell you, sir, that it would have been wiser for you, instead of responding to him and saying to him, I will not dispute your $147, when you wrote him the letter, should have sent him a check. Should have said, here's the check for $147. I'm very sorry you're not using my services anymore. Goodbye and good luck. And next time, try an airport.
Your Honor. Your Honor, I have a witness here who is a certified flight instructor. He also has an airline transport pilot rating. He has come to me on his own because he evaluated me, and he would like to provide some expert testimony on
about
my training.
what?
About my inadequate training and lack of supervision I was provided.
Listen to me. Do you tap dance?
No, Your Honor.
If you take tap dancing lessons and you don't like the instructor, then you don't use the instructor, you go someplace else.
Your Honor, but when I'm the student, how do I know if I'm being provided with good training?
You mean
or not?
you had to land on the freeway to figure out that you weren't getting good training? Come on.
No,
Wake up, start taking some response. I mean, you have to laugh at this.
No, Your Honor.
Yeah, do you have to laugh at this?
Yeah, there's some things that are missing, though.
There are things that are missing there.
There are
One
holes
thing
in
that are
my
missing are
training.
your eyes. Just a second. One thing that are missing are your eyes. If you're a big enough boy to get behind the wheel of a plane and you're riding along and it starts to turn on empty, what you do is you pick up a phone and you say, help. You know, you don't fly until you fly all the way on empty. You know, how many of us have driven with our husbands and we say, it's on empty. Don't tell me it's on empty. I have plenty of gas.
But Your Honor, there's
Right?
clear violations here.
I suggest you stay on your bike. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $147. Counterclaim.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There was two things I knew. I knew at what age I'm gonna die, and I knew how I was gonna die.
He flew over 10 airports where he had a chance to fuel. I also told him to fuel during the flight.
He reminded me about refueling in Santa Barbara. Before I left on my solo, he reminded me again to refuel in Santa Barbara. Duh.
I don't know, I mean, there's basically pirates in the sea. I never met a pirate in the sky before.
And now the next case.
All parties on Besesden versus Barajas Beckley. Step forward, please.
22-year-old newspaper reporter Victoria Bessedin claims 21-year-olds Rosie Barajas and Minta Beckley used her library card to check out 23 books. They didn't return them, leaving Victoria with a $1,000 library fine.
Miss Besettin, did you go to college?
I just finished.
Where did you go to college?
Cal State University, San Bernardino.
And you ladies go to school?
Not right now.
Well, you did a while ago, is
Yeah.
that right? Where were you going to school?
San Bernardino Valley College.
And you?
San Bernardino Valley College.
For some reason, these two ladies wanted to use your library.
Yes.
In your school.
Yes.
And you could take books out. Take your hands out of your pockets. And you could take books out of your library. These young ladies said, could we take some books out on your card? You said, okay.
That is not what happened.
Fine, tell me what happened.
Okay. We had a report to do for a class. What happened was that we were all friends at the time. She knew we had a report to do. She offered her library card because we could not find the books in our library. She offered for us to use her library card.
So that's come close. She offered or you asked, whatever it was, it doesn't make any difference. You used her library card and you took out 23 books. And then she starts getting billed for $1,000 because you didn't return the books.
We did return the books.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I can understand maybe one book turning up missing, but for all 23 books to turn up missing, there lacks statistical probability for that. You know, you're looking at me smiling like an idiot. You know that.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Victoria Bessedin loaned her library card to Rosie Barajas and Minta Beckley. They checked out 23 books and didn't return them. Victoria wants her $1,000 library fine paid.
Tell me how you returned the books.
What happened was the books had not been turned in. She was notified. She called me. I think the books had been due like 3 days before. I remember that I had not turned in the books. Called her, and it was during the evening. We did not turn in the books that same day that she called me, but we did go the next day to turn them in. I had called her to tell her that if she wanted me to take the books to her, she can turn them in. She said,
why should she do that? You used the books.
Because
why should she carry back 23 books to the library that you used?
I just said if she wanted to turn them in or does she want me to turn
so
them in.
So you didn't turn them in for 3 days. Is that right?
Yeah, it was, well, 4 days because it was the next day.
Now, when you turned them in, where did you turn them in?
Into a box. A drop box.
Baloney. You want me to tell you why it's baloney? Because I can understand maybe one book turning up missing, maybe 2 books turning up missing. But for all 23 books to turn up missing, there lacks statistical probability for that if you return the books. So you didn't return the books.
We did return the books.
Even if you say you returned the books, this bill is your responsibility. not hers. She didn't take them out. She didn't use them. She didn't return them late. You did. Why should she have to pay?
It was her library card.
What?
And we did
Just a
turn
second. Say that one more time for me. One more time, because it's her library card?
And we did turn in the books. It's not our fault that the library does say that we did not turn the books in.
I just said to you, I'm assuming, for the purpose of this, that you did return the books, which you did not. But assuming that you did, and assuming that the library lost them, but she not only received a bill for them, but according to you, you couldn't get your diploma. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that right? Why should she suffer because of the fact that you took out these books? Did you report from them? You used them? You did not act responsibly in not returning them on time? You know, you're looking at me smiling like an idiot. You know that. How much did this cost you in the library?
$1,000.70, Your Honor. And that's just for the cost of the books, replacing them, and the overdue fees. I'm not asking for anything more. I had to go to college an extra term. I'm not asking to get that money refunded.
I want to tell you something. If you did, I might have given it to you because I know what happens. Exactly. Let me see the letters from the library.
Yes.
Fools.
That's the original one. That's the current one.
Two fools.
The pink one, Your Honor, is the current list that shows that the books have still not been found as of almost 2 years ago.
Did you ever get your diploma?
No, ma'am. And I'm trying to apply to my master's program at Cal State Fullerton, and I can't
Is the reason that you can't get your degree because of the outstanding books?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
When she told you that she was having this problem, what did you say to her?
We had agreed to go to the library together to talk about this twice. She would always change the date.
Why didn't you just go to the library?
I did go to the library once.
And what happened?
And they told me that I needed to know exactly the books, and I had no way of contacting her to know what, because they needed to know the titles of the books so they can look for them.
How would she know the titles? You used the books.
Well, how would I know them? There are 23 books. I know what they were about, but I didn't know the title.
How would she know the titles if you took out the books? You had them.
Because they were under her library card, so it would show up on there what books were checked out.
You have to be a little more diligent, madam. I know that you have a very busy schedule here. I can see that you have a very busy schedule, but you have to be more diligent. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000.70. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You're welcome.
Information of character and bank fraud.
All rise. Now, this is case number 549 on the calendar in the matter of Wright versus Dilly Bennett. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Wright,
yes.
The defendant, Mr. Dilly,
yes,
is your former boyfriend.
Correct.
And the co-defendant is his current girlfriend.
Correct.
According to your complaint, when you moved out of Mr. Dilly's home, you left behind a long-distance credit card. And that credit card was used by the co-defendant.
I don't know exactly who used the card. I know that it was used
while it was in their home.
Correct.
Now, you seem not to deny that you did, in fact, use the card. Is that right?
That's right.
Correct.
Why did you use her card?
For 3 months before Miss Wright moved out, I paid all of her bills.
That's not right.
Shh, just a second.
So that she was able to save her money and move out. I paid off the Finger Hut, her Finger Hut account, which the card was on. And she said, well, since you paid off Finger Hut, you could have the stuff. So this phone card was one of the things that she said, here, you can just keep the phone card. The phone number is already on it. And I was getting the bill for quite a long time.
Mr. Dilly, be very careful. You paid her bills, according to you, while she was there so that she could save her money to move out. But you did not have an agreement with her that in exchange for that, she would give you carte blanche on this phone credit card.
Oh, no, she said...
no.
She said, you might as well keep the phone card Because it's no good to me because it has our phone number on it. So, I mean, I was getting the bill at my house with her name on it, and I was paying it.
But then there came a time when either the bill got sent to her house. So this is clearly your bill.
Clearly, yes.
All right. And the bill was for $290?
$290.48.
Now, I want to tell you something. I'm going to give you exactly 10 seconds to explain to me why you're suing them for $4,920, $4,629.52 for aggravation.
Quite frankly, I never expected to get that money. It was
Good.
simply to get their attention.
Well, it may have gotten their attention. It got me irritated, so we're striking out the aggravation part. $290.48. So you owe her that.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's an easy. Now, I have a cross complaint here for defamation that was filed by you.
Yes.
You want $5,000 for defamation of character.
It was $1,500. It was changed to $1,500. It was supposed
Just
to be
a time of
$1,500.
lost work.
Aggravation and
Trying to collect all the information.
Everybody's got aggravation.
I understand.
You say that she illegally transferred funds from my bank account and has impersonated me to WorldCom to get them to do so. She calls you and lets you know if she's got this bill. She wants the money. She says, make the check payable to WorldCom. They sent you a check in an envelope made out to WorldCom.
Correct.
Why didn't you send it in?
I was concerned that I had received a check since I'd asked for a money order. I know that Bob and I have had problems in the past over our relationship. So I called WorldCom and I wanted to know, I said, I don't have a good feeling about this check. I said, I want to make sure that it gets sent in as quickly as possible. I said, what is the quickest way for me to get this check to you and to get it cleared? And she said that we could do an electronic withdrawal. So she took down the information. She said, what you're going to have to do is to make sure that the credit union has the money in the account. As soon as they do, call me. I'll have the money transferred. This was on September 28th, which is when the check is written. I called the 28th, 29th, 30th, the 1st, and the 2nd. The 2nd was when the check was good.
Okay. So for 4 days, there were not funds available. On the 5th day, there were. And you had them, did you have them make the transfer?
I called WorldCom and asked them. I gave them the details, which I wrote on the back of the check. She told me to write void on the face of the check, which I did. And that the funds would then be transferred. She actually said it would take a few days. So when I got another bill from WorldCom saying that there had been a stop payment on the check, I said, when was the stop payment? Because I said, on the 2nd, you took down the information and said you would do the transfer.
And when was the stop payment?
On the 7th.
On the 7th? Why?
Because she would not mail the check. And she told Bob when she was talking to you on the phone that she was going to hold the check for evidence.
I said, in case there was a problem, I said, I wanted proof that you guys had written a check.
But the agreement was that she would put the check in the mail.
So
we have a memo from her stating to let things take its natural course.
And that she was sending in the WorldCom.
That she remitted. We sent her a fax stating that if the check wasn't, in fact, received by WorldCom and cashed within X amount of days, we would put a stop payment on it. We gave her a check addressed in an envelope, ready to go. All she had to do was mail it and let things take its natural course.
All right, just a minute.
As she states
Which
in
it
her
would
letter.
have if you
Stop talking. I can't hear you if I'm reading something.
Sorry.
Mr. Dilly, let me tell you what your first mistake was. Your first mistake was to use a credit card that was not yours. You used her credit card. Either you or you and Miss Bennett.
I felt that I had her permission.
No. You don't use somebody's credit card because it's not a smart thing to do. Get your own credit card. Then you don't have this problem. Meanwhile, you're using her credit card. You're not together anymore. You don't see each other. You're not friends, right? Why do you think that it's a smart thing to use her credit card? Get your own.
Absolutely.
So
it was a mistake.
You have to understand something. It's a little irritating when somebody thinks about the new girlfriend using her credit card. I mean, if you just think about it, it's tacky. So you should have gotten your own. Meanwhile, you owe her $290. You paid her the $290. She wanted to ensure that there was money in the bank to cover this check. Now, should she have called up and said she was you, which she probably had to?
I didn't, no. That's not required. I called and simply asked. I said, I have a check, and I want to know if the funds are available, period.
WorldCom will tell you different.
Okay, well, WorldCom isn't here.
And WorldCom's not your bank.
Shh, just a second. WorldCom isn't here. In any event, should she have done it? Maybe, maybe not, but she had. I mean, this was her debt after all, and it's on her credit report if it's not paid, and it would be on her credit report if she submitted that check. And let us assume that check got in on a day when you had insufficient funds in the bank. Let's assume that the mail did in fact get there in one day rather than taking 3 or 4 days as it usually takes. So it may have caused an embarrassment. Whatever it was, this is not a major deal.
She's talking
People,
over a weekend.
listen to me. This is not a major deal, people. I don't know why it should have been a major deal. Should have given her $290 in cash, gotten a receipt, say, I paid the bill, here's your credit card, it's cut up, we'll never use it again. We are now separate, and that's it. Instead, this whole intrigue, because you left the credit card, right? That's stupid.
Absolutely.
And you used the credit card.
I did not use the credit card.
Fine. He used the credit card.
Thank you.
You used the credit card.
I was a mediator trying, because she would call up and harass him.
Just a second. If you were a mediator, then you would have nudged him. You don't have to tell him. Nudge him and say, stop being an idiot. Take the credit card, cut it up. I don't want to use her credit card. I don't want to use her sheets, and I don't want to use her credit card.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What difference does it make? The main thing is you sent her $290, whether she took it out electronically or she took it out in wampum or she took it out in yen. What difference does it make to you?
And later today...
She's still driving the car?
Yeah.
No? No.
She'd be doing a lot of bicycling or walking if she were my daughter.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Diana Wright is suing her ex-boyfriend, Robert Dilley, and his new girlfriend, Sherry Bennett, for using her calling card. They are countersuing Diana for impersonating Sherry at her bank.
So, and your aggravation, your stress, your defamation, and everything else is a lot of nonsense.
No.
We have a statement here from Westcom.
Wait a minute. This check was not authorized by me to do over the phone. I got nothing in the mail.
Let me ask you a question, madam. What's the difference if she does it by electronically or if she does it by mailing it in?
It wasn't made out to her.
It wasn't. Just a second. What difference does it make? It's getting the bill paid that's in her name. Let's listen to me. You know, you can spend your life getting involved in minutiae that has very little to do with a WorldCom bill and has much more to do with being irritated by her presence. But what difference does it make? The main thing is you sent her $290, whether she took it out electronically or she took it out in wampum or she took it out in yen. What difference does it make to you? It shouldn't make any difference. I mean, I assume you have other things in your life to machinate over. This should be nothing that you machinate over.
Exactly, I agree.
Very good. So pay the $290, say goodbye to each other, and that's it. $290.48. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you. You may step out.
Thank you.
I thought it was silly it had to come to this. It seemed pretty straightforward in the beginning and was pretty friendly. And when Sherry wanted to get involved, then things seemed to get ugly. So I'm just glad it's over.
I hold no ill wills, and I just let live. We're ready to move on with my life.
And now the next case.
All parties on Grody versus Brisby. Step forward, please.
17-year-old Jennifer Cavish and her stepfather, 38-year-old John Grody, claim 19-year-old student Danny Brisby crashed their car while playing chicken.
Miss Brody?
Kavash.
Kavash?
Yeah.
Is this your father?
Stepfather.
Was it his car that you were driving that day?
Yes.
What kind of car was it?
A 91 Honda Accord?
And you let your stepdaughter drive the car?
Yes.
Now, what I gather from these rather convoluted papers, you were driving with a friend of yours, another girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to a place where a bunch of kids were sort of hanging out. Is that right?
Yes.
You and your girlfriend got out of the car,
Yes.
but you left the keys in the car.
Right.
Why didn't you put them in your pocket?
Because I was leaning right up against the car, and I was leaving in just a few minutes anyways. I didn't think anybody was going to take my car.
But you were there, is that right?
Yes.
And you saw the car keys in the seat, you hopped in the car, is that right?
Yes.
Why did you do such a stupid thing?
Well, I was leaning against the car. I was leaning right next to the driver's side door.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed the keys were on the seat, and I got in to start the car just to mess around with the engine, hear what it sounded like. I had no intention of driving the car when I first got in it.
You just got in to mess around?
Yes.
Good. Now, there was an accident with this car for which you want to be compensated. Is that right? And the accident happened while you were driving the car.
Yes.
So why don't you tell me, Daniel, how, since you had no intention of driving this car, but just messing around with it and seeing how the motor sounded when it got turned on, why don't you tell me how the accident happened?
I didn't actually turn the car on until she was in the car with her seatbelt on.
Just a second. So you're in the car, in the driver's seat, and then Jennifer got in the car? What did she say when she got in the car?
When she got in the car, she didn't say anything.
That's not what you say in your answer, Daniel. You better think again. What did she say to you when she got into the car?
When she got into the car, she didn't say anything. Once I started driving, she said, "I can't believe I'm letting you drive my car."
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, this accident was November 13th. This picture was taken December 28th, the day after the second accident. What, are you kidding me?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Cavish and her stepfather, John Grody, claim Danny Brisby crashed their car while playing a game of chicken.
I'm going to read to you what you wrote, Daniel. After a moment, I noticed the keys on the seat. I then, not knowing the stupidity of the action, took it upon myself to get into the car. I sat myself in the driver's seat. Jennifer ran to the passenger side and jumped in. She said, "Danny, no, no, no." Once she was in the car with her seatbelt fastened, I started the car.
That was miswording on my part.
It wasn't miswording. That's what you signed, Daniel. All right. So she said, "No, no, no." And you did what?
I started the car and drove.
Okay. And you got into an accident?
Yes.
And there was damage to the car?
Yes.
Why don't you tell me why you don't think you're responsible for the damage?
Because I did not cause the accident.
You caused the accident because you were driving the car. If you weren't driving the car wouldn't have been in an accident. So whether the accident was your fault at the time of the collision or some other driver's fault, if he's not being compensated by the other driver, somebody's got to pay.
Why didn't the insurances pay?
Why? I don't know. Did the insurance pay for the damage?
Half of the damage, yes. He agreed to pay. Both kids agreed that it was a 50-50 on their part, that they were both at fault.
You mean both kids that were involved in the accident?
Correct.
How much damage was done to your car? Let me see the paperwork and while you pull it out.
Just give it all.
Is this your father?
Yes.
Would you like to step up with him? Oh, that's a lot of damage on the car. How much did it cost to repair the car? Because I have several estimates.
Yeah, well, after that, there was another accident, and it cost, well, we had to pay the deductible of $500.
Oh, well, just a second here. This is going to make it very complicated. You mean after this accident, you didn't have the car fixed?
No.
Then she was in another accident?
Yes.
How much later was she in another accident?
It was December 27th.
And when was this accident?
That one was November 13th.
She's still driving the car?
Yeah.
Now? Yes.
You're a very nice stepfather. She'd be doing a lot of bicycling or walking if she were my daughter. Now, this accident was November 13th. This picture was taken December 28th, the day after the second accident.
Right.
What, are you kidding me? I want to see a picture of the damage to the car in a photograph taken right after this accident.
That is the damage that was done on the November accident.
We never took any pictures prior to that.
Well, this one is useless to me because it's 6 weeks after the incident, that photograph.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
You have a $500 deductible on your insurance?
Yes.
Okay. So whatever it is here, whatever these bills are, what this damage will cost you out of your out-of-pocket is $500. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, did you or the insurance company go after this other boy?
Yes.
Did he pay you any money?
The insurance company did, yes.
How much?
What? The half of it, $700, because it was $1,400 was the estimate, I believe.
So the other boy paid $700 directly to the insurance company.
Right.
Is that right?
No, they paid it to us.
And what did you do with it?
We put that in the bank, and we will pay that back if you award us this money. We'll gladly pay that other insurance company back that money to prove the point that somebody just can't get in your car and take it.
Just a minute. So if I award you your $500 deductible from him, which I would ordinarily do like that because you were wrong. You agree with that, right?
I agree. He's responsible for his actions.
Good. Like that. I certainly don't intend to award you money so that you have an additional $700. Especially when I think a little piece of it was your stepdaughter's fault. A, in leaving the keys in the car. B, in letting somebody else drive the car. That coupled with the fact she was in another accident 6 weeks later. So she bears certain responsibility. But my problem is you're not supposed to come out ahead. Now, the other people gave you $700.
Correct.
And you intend to remit that $700 to the insurance company?
Yes.
Okay. What's the name of your insurance company?
Farmers?
Farmers?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is a very easy case. I'm giving you a judgment, sir, for $500. The court is holding it upon your providing satisfactory proof by a canceled check for $700 made out to Farmers Insurance Company, and then we will release his $500. Got it?
Got it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Back to your right.
And on the next Judge Judy.
If you give him back all of the videos, which I think is the dumbest thing you can do.
Worst friend's wedding video.
I don't have a witness here.
You can call him.
I don't call people.
Judge Judy Justice.
I'm just glad that he finally realizes he was wrong and it was his fault. He caused the accident, and I'm glad we got awarded the money.
I did not cause the accident, and I did start the car after I felt I had permission to drive the car.
Anita Watson took her property while she was in jail.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 617 on the calendar in the matter of Costin versus Watson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Costin, the defendant is the sister of one of your children's fathers. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You were not married to her brother?
No.
How many children do you have?
One. I have three, but one is related to this
Well, that's what
family.
I'm asking. You have 3 children?
Right.
But you're the aunt of only one. Is that the youngest child?
The oldest child.
The oldest child. According to your complaint, you were incarcerated.
Yes.
And you claim that while you were incarcerated, the defendant took things from your home.
Yes, Your Honor.
She said she was nothing but nice to you. As a matter of fact, she has custody of one of the children. Is that right?
Yes, I do.
Is that
legal guardian for her son?
Did you get custody of that child when she went to jail?
While she was in jail.
While she was in jail. All right, now what makes you think she took property out of your house?
We came into a verbal agreement that she would step in and take care of my personal possessions and take care of things for me while I was away, and when I would come home, that I would have something to come home to.
When did you contact her?
I contacted her, this was probably around about November of 1996.
You were in jail at the time?
Yes, I was.
How long were you in jail?
Until October of 1998, Your Honor.
And did you have an apartment?
Yes, ma'am. I had a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, fully furnished apartment with a double-car garage that also contained several personal property items.
Was it a rental?
Yes, it was, Your Honor.
Who was paying the rent?
I had a friend that was in need of a place to stay. The defendant was opposed to that. She suggested her sister, Teray, move into my apartment. Teray and her boyfriend moved into my apartment.
Did the landlord approve of somebody else living in the apartment?
My landlord did not know anything about this until later on.
How long did these other people live in your apartment?
Probably about maybe 4 or 5 months until my landlord did find out about it.
And then they threw everybody out?
Well, yes, he wanted them to move out of the apartment. At this time, Miss Watson said that she would take care of my items, that she would make sure everything was moved out of my apartment, which via phone conversation, she did state over the phone that she had moved all my stuff out of the apartment. I have letters from Miss Watson that she wrote to me during my incarceration, Your Honor.
Can you see them?
She also stated items she sent to me while I was incarcerated. These items were in my personal file cabinet, which was in my house. I also have pictures of items that came out of my house. I also have a list of my items that came out of my apartment. There is also listed an IBM Aptiva computer that was in pawn. Ms. Watson had possession of these because while in my incarceration, I released my purse to Ms. Watson, which contained my house keys, my wallet with all my identification, credit cards, what have you. That's how Ms. Watson was able to obtain my computer, my wedding ring, my mother's ring. She redeemed those items from the pawn shop. These receipts were in my wallet that was released to Ms. Watson. I also have letters where I had to contact my financial institution to put a block on my account. I have statements from there that shows Ms. Watson wrote several checks off of my account, which my checkbook was also in my personal property.
Well, first show me proof that she took things out of the pawn shop for you.
Yes, ma'am, they're right here.
Did you take things out of the pawn shop for her?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
What did you do with them?
I gave them to her daughter.
Which daughter?
The oldest daughter. That's what she asked me to do.
Did you speak to your daughter?
Yes, I did, Your Honor. I have also questioned my daughter. And asked my daughter, did she get any of my items? This Ms. Watson never mentioned anything about she giving any of my items to my daughter. I've never asked her to give anything to my daughter whatsoever.
Let me see what else.
These are copies that I have my financial institution sent to me of checks Ms. Watson wrote from my account. There's a list of items that came out of my apartment.
Just a second. Just a second. Did you ever draw checks out of her account?
I didn't, but I'm aware that it was done in order to pay the landlord.
Did you pay the landlord?
Yes, he did get paid.
How much was the rent on your apartment?
Your Honor, I believe at that time it was only maybe about $125, $130, $35.
I have 3 checks. 2 of them are for $650 and 1 of them is for $600. Who are you?
I'm the witness. I was staying in the house. Me and my boyfriend.
Yeah.
And so she was on Section 8. So the landlord came out and I signed the Section 8 for her, and I told the Section 8 people that she was incarcerated or whatever, you know. The Section 8 people, they stopped the Section 8 because they wanted to see her. So at that time, the landlord was asking for the regular rent because the Section 8 wasn't paying for the voucher. I took
That's $650. That's not her problem. Why should she pay for your rent?
She wasn't paying for my rent.
You sure she was? If you were living there and the landlord said, in order for you to stay there, we're taking the Section 8 off the rent and we're going to charge the regular rent, which is $650, and you wrote out checks for $650 to cover the apartment while she was living there, why should she pay for her living in the apartment?
She asked her to take care of her daughter because the daughter was on the Section 8 lease, and but the problem is I didn't know she was going to be gone for 2 or 3 years. She didn't know how long she was going to be. I could see trying to help with the situation for a limited amount of time, but it was just too long.
Ms. Costin, the funds that come into this bank
Your Honor, I have
It's a government check.
Yes, ma'am.
For what?
My son receives benefit from his deceased father.
Just a second. So this money was for your son?
Yes, ma'am.
And who was taking care of your son?
At that time, my son was between various group homes. A couple of times, Miss Watson did pick him up and take him.
How long has the child been with you?
For over 2 years.
Well, these checks are all written around that time. So, Ms. Costin.
Yes, ma'am.
You say that this government check is for your son?
Yes, ma'am.
For your son that she was taking care of?
Yes.
She could take this money. What am I going to give it to you? Why might I give it to you? This money is not yours. This money belongs to your son. If, in fact, you had money in your bank that was yours, that you worked for and saved, and had in a checking account or in a savings account that was yours, and she wrote checks out to herself for $600 and was using that, you know, to support somebody else that you had absolutely no nexus to, I would say you have to give this money back, Miss Watson. But this is a government check for your son that you say you got because he had a father who died,
yes.
Right? That child was in her custody. So, and I assume she supported him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I asked her repeatedly, over and over again, Anita, I'm ready to, get my property. I have a place. She then put her live-in boyfriend, Demetrius, on the phone, who stated, Anita says that you're intimidating her. How am I intimidating her?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. When Evelyn Costin went to jail, she left her belongings with her niece's aunt, Anita Watson. Evelyn now claims Anita stole her stuff. Anita says she cared for Evelyn's kids while she was behind bars, but didn't steal anything.
What kind of work did you do?
I was a certified nurse's aide and also worked through a nursing registry.
What were you incarcerated for?
Petty theft, Your Honor.
Petty theft, you don't get anything more than a year in jail, madam. You were in jail for more than a year. More than a year is a felony. What were you convicted of?
With the prior, Your Honor.
Prior for what?
Petty theft.
Petty theft from where?
From a department store, Your Honor. Basically, it was making a refund exchanges against my own credit cards.
So you amassed a lot of money. I'm just wondering how you got all this money.
Your Honor,
from a money market fund. Substantial interest every month from a fund. Just curious.
Your Honor, and any money that is in that account did not come from any illegal use. My son inherited some money from his father, and I put it into an investment account for him to go to college.
Mm-hmm. How much money is left in this account?
It's well over $10,000.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I have, if I can show you, I have a copy of her criminal record. As to most of this property, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole because I don't.
Where did all the property go to?
I don't know. It was so long. I don't know where it went to. Her daughter. I turned the property over to her daughter, which I know her daughter is not that responsible. But I could not I couldn't care for her property for over 2 years.
Well, let me understand this. You were living there for a while. Ultimately, the landlord told you to move. Is that right?
Yes.
When you moved out of the apartment, what happened to all of her furniture in the apartment?
I had left for a while, and then I came back. All the things were in the garage. So I guess he must have...
what things were in the garage?
All the things from the house. Then I left them.
Your Honor, the witness, she was actually there at the property, but she told me that she saw the daughter taking things out.
When was the last time you saw your daughter?
Your Honor, my daughter just moved from my place last week. I have asked my daughter several times, over and over again, did she even ever go to the apartment? She told me no. This lady never gave her anything from my apartment. I have made contact with this woman. I've talked to her. She repeatedly told me it was okay. Don't worry about it. First of all, first you need to worry about getting a place. After about 2 or 3 weeks after I was released from custody, I have my place. I then contact her again, and I asked her repeatedly, over and over again, Anita, could you please, I'm ready to, get my property. I have a place.
Well, didn't you ask her?
She then got off the phone and put her live-in boyfriend, Demetrius, on the phone, who stated, Anita, what is the problem? Anita says that you're intimidating her. How am I intimidating her? Because I'm asking for my property? I was settling. Just give me my photograph. Things that belong to my mother. That is all I want back.
Okay, Ms. Costin, I need proof that she has your property. You were incarcerated for over 2 years, right? She is under no obligation to maintain your property.
She came into a verbal agreement, Your Honor, over and over again.
Ms. Costin, pay careful attention. She is under no obligation to babysit for your property. I think she probably did a very stupid thing by having this lady move into your apartment, because I'm not sure what this lady did with any of your stuff. I mean, I wouldn't have a stranger in my apartment, but the truth is, your alternatives were limited when you were incarcerated.
Yes, they were.
Where are you living now?
I'm living in Los Angeles, Your Honor. I have pictures and itemized list of things that were in my apartment.
I can't do anything about it. You were in jail, madam. Nobody has to take care of your things. There are a lot of people in and out of the apartment. Courts need proof. You're claiming that she stole things from your apartment. I have no proof that she stole anything from your apartment. That's what your claim is for, that she stole things. You gave her the ability to go and get stuff out of a pawn shop, jewelry, etc., right? She says she gave it to your daughter. She says she doesn't have it. And she says to me that you told her to give the things to your daughter.
Your Honor, I never told her once to give anything to my daughter. I never told her once.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your Honor, she gave up custody. She gave her son to the courts. I mean, she said she didn't want him anymore.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Evelyn Costin claims Anita Watson stole her property when Evelyn went to jail.
Ms. Costin, I don't know what advice I could give you at this point. I assume that you're on your own, you're living in Los Angeles. I assume that you still have some funds in this bank. You have $10,000 in this account, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
That is for my son.
Good. And, well, that's his money. It was left to him, you said.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I assume that you are getting the checks paid directly to you from Social Security for the child now, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So the child, how much does he get every month?
$638.
$638. That was the deposits that were made here in your account, $638 government check. Do you visit with the child that's in her custody?
She uses my son against me. She hasn't let me see my son. I've seen my son one time since I've been home, and that was only because I had to call the social worker because Miss Watson had had him out of school for well over a month. And I found that out through calling the school and getting his attendance.
Ms. Costin, you know about going to the family court. Your children were both placed in protective custody. Your 7-year-old child is still in protective custody and has been probably living with a foster family, I hope just one, for the last 3 years, right?
Yes.
Do you visit with that child?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Did they give you an order of visitation with regard to your son who is in her custody?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is that?
That I'm to see my son every Sunday between 3 and 4 o'clock at McDonald's, which I've even called Miss Watson on several times and asked why he was not there.
Do you go there every Sunday?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. And I sit there.
Your Honor, what happened was she called her son, told him she was going to be able to pick him up when she got out of jail. She didn't pick him up. He went crazy. Now he doesn't want to see her. I mean, he's still crazy.
How old is he?
I mean, it hurt him a lot.
How old is he?
He's just turned 15.
Oh, so he's a big boy.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Well, then there really isn't much that I can do about that. And the only thing to do about that is when you go back to the family court, I assume that you do periodically. Is that right?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And do you have a lawyer there?
Yes.
I would suggest that you ask the lawyer to see if the lawyer can set up through the court some joint counseling, like once a month with your son.
Your Honor, there was also an order that we were to have counseling. She doesn't even allow me to see my son. He isn't even living with her. He's living with my oldest daughter's father.
He's not living with you?
Since she's been out, he's been with my brother. My brother, both of her children were affected by prenatal drugs, okay? They have serious problems. She has a way of setting them off. He's set off right now.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, JudgeJudy.com.
Sounds to me like you should be more concerned with the kids than your property.
Your Honor,
she gave up custody. She gave her son to the courts. I mean, she said she didn't want him anymore.
You mean she agreed to terminate her parental rights?
Yes,
to the
she
boy?
did. Miss Watson is not telling the truth.
Did you voluntarily place him?
The only thing that I signed was to have him live with her, to keep my son from being moved around. I was thinking about what was better for him.
Because he was in foster care.
Yes, ma'am. That was the only thing I signed.
And he was moving around. He wasn't doing well.
Right. And he wanted to stay with her. And
so you agreed to guardianship?
Right.
Permanent guardianship?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. You have a 7-year-old daughter. Ms. Costin, I have a sense that all of your kids have had a very troubled time.
None of my kids have been affected by post-pregnant, whatever she said.
Were any of your children born with drugs in their system?
No, ma'am.
Never?
Never.
Okay.
Not one.
Okay. So I suggest you put a period, not worry about your furniture, and try to move on with it. I don't know who has your furniture. I don't know if she knows who has your furniture. You need proof in a court, and you know that. And if you're really concerned about your children, and if your 15-year-old son is at least legally in her custody, I wouldn't be suing her. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, satellite technician Scott Osment for their child's medical bills. Scott says he gives half his salary and will pay no more.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 177 on the calendar in the matter of Maxwell versus Osment. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Maxwell, let me try to get the sequence of events.
Yes, ma'am.
When were you married to the defendant?
In December 21st, 1991.
And you have one child together?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that child born?
November 1st of 1994.
Girl?
Girl, yes, ma'am.
And when did you separate from the defendant?
In January of 95, Your Honor.
And when were you divorced?
We were divorced August 11th, 1997.
Now, you are suing the defendant for unreimbursed medical costs that you incurred for your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
From what date to what date?
From April 14th, 1997 to present, Your Honor.
Now, your divorce decree provided for him to pay for what with regard to medical bills?
Half of everything.
Okay. Now, how much does he owe you, according to you, for the child's unreimbursed medical bills?
$1,982.05.
Can I see what you have there? Now, when did you first make a demand for that money?
I started making a demand for this money in November of 1997, Your Honor. I've made demands for it. He told me he would never pay a dime of medical costs. He told me he would never pay for anything for her at all.
True.
Why is that, sir?
For the past year, Your Honor, I've been paying over half my wages. I've brought proof of that.
For what?
For child support, because they made it at $424 per month, which is over half my wages, rendering me with about $100 a week to live on. Neither one of our jobs were...
$424 per month for child support.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what the judgment of divorce provided for?
At first, yes. We went to court 1 week ago on July 1st, and they saw fit to modify the child support to $251 to a reasonable rate. I proved to the judge that I'm just not making it. I'm trying to go to college at night. At this point, I brought proof of my payroll. I don't know where I would get it at this point.
Let me see.
The net pay shows what...
No, I'll read it. I'm really good at that.
I know you are.
Your Honor, I'd like to say something if I may. Mr. Osmond has only paid $424 for the first 2 months from April to July of 1997. Then he got his child support reduced to $113 per month. And then in January, it went back up to $424, and then he just got it reduced again to $250.
Mr. Osmond,
yes, ma'am.
From January of 1995, which is when you separated from your former wife, until April of 1997, how much child support did you pay?
I gave her at least $50 to $100 a month. I didn't give her as much.
50, just a second. So between 1995 and 1997, according to you, you gave her between $50 and $75 a month. Is that right?
Can I say something?
Yes.
The reason for that, at that time, when we did separate, I was left with the apartment and everything else. Our visitation schedule set up, I would have to go down there. I lived in Palm Springs, she lived in Orange County. Drive there, get them, bring them back because we couldn't stay there for the visitation. Go all the way back. I had to work the Saturday. That pretty much ate that money up. I had no more money left.
Well, how'd you expect your daughter to be supported?
Work as hard as I could, do the best I could.
Well, that's not doing the best you can, sir. $50 a month, assuming that you paid it, which she seems to doubt.
No, he
She
didn't.
says you didn't pay it. But assuming that you paid somewhere around $50 a month, you can't keep a cat for $50 a month.
You're right, Your Honor.
This isn't a cat, this is your child.
I've been paying, I haven't missed a payment since we've been doing this.
Mr. Osmond, what you're telling me that since you were put under a court order, you managed to pay $424 a month, and then you managed to pay $113 a month, and then you paid $250 a month. So when a court told you to pay $424 a month, you paid it. When a court told you you had to pay $113 a month, you paid it. When a court told you you had to pay $250 a month, you paid it. But when no court told you that you had to pay more, according to you, you gave her $50 a month. Is that what you're telling me? That's what it sounds like.
No, I'm telling you that due to the situation at the beginning of that, I had no more money.
So what you're telling me, sir, is that as soon as the court told you you had to pay $424 a month, all of a sudden, miraculously, the good fairy came and dropped enough money for you to pay $424 a month.
They took it from me. They garnished
They took it out of your salary.
Right.
Right.
They garnished my wages.
Absolutely right.
That's why I lost my car, my apartment, everything I had.
Oh, just a second. What kind of car did you have?
I had a little Toyota.
Little Toyota.
That I paid $177 a month for. And
so what you're telling me is, sir, from 1995 to 1997, you paid more for your car than you did for your child. 3 times as much. 3 times as much.
That's not what I'm telling you.
Your Honor, I just, in the last court case, in our last hearing, he has acquired a brand new car. And he has acquired financing for that brand new car because it was on his last income and expense declaration for the new court case that he has a brand new car that he pays $334 a month for.
Pay $334 a month for a car, sir?
My mother helps me with that.
Oh.
So that I can get around it.
Just a second, is your mother a good grandmother?
They won't allow her to see her.
Just a second, is your mother a good grandmother?
She is. They won't allow her to see her.
You mean there's a restraining order that prevents your mother from seeing the child?
I've never done
Jump!
Yes,
just a second. Is there a restraining order that prevents your mother from seeing the child?
No, Your Honor, there is not.
So that when you have your daughter for visitation, you want her to see your mother, you go over and you take her to visit your mother. What do you mean they prevent you? That's what you do. So your mother, if she's a good grandmother, she doesn't give you $350 a month to pay for a car. So what you're telling me now is you still pay more for your car than you pay for your daughter. And there was a time when you got along with an old Toyota for $177 a month, but now you need a $350 a month car when you've asked to have your child support reduced to half. You sound like you have your priorities all screwed up, Mr. Osmond.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
she sued me for costing me $8,000 last year, suing me for $1 million.
What kind of $1 million lawsuit? I'm just curious.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Candy Maxwell, is suing her ex-husband, Scott Osment, for their child's medical bills. Scott says he gives half his salary and will pay no more.
Judgment in this case is very easy. The Supreme Court of this state has directed that, sir, that you pay for 1/2 of all unreimbursed medical bills. That you will do. That one child is your priority, not your car, not your mother, not your fiancé, not anything else. Aside from bare sustenance to keep you alive, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take care of the children that you make. In this case, you really haven't done that, sir, unless you've been under the gun of a court order. The total bills here, which have been added up, clearly indicate that you owe her 1/2 of those bills, which are $1,982.05. Mr. Osment, pay it! That's all.
Thank you,
Parties
Your
are
Honor.
excused. You may step out.
I think Judge Judy did exactly what I hoped she had done, give me back the justice that is deserved for my daughter. He doesn't even know what the mean father is.
I'm just happy she's going on with her life. That's what I need for her to do. She's a good mother for my child, but she needs to go on with her life emotionally. I have.
And now the next case.
Parties on Ballou versus Ballou. Step forward, please.
39-year-old independent contractor Cynthia Ballou is suing her ex-husband, 43-year-old salesman Joseph Ballou, for not paying his share of their children's medical and dental bills. Joseph says he was never consulted.
You folks were once married and now divorced. You have
Yes.
2 children.
Yes, ma'am.
This case is about some unreimbursed medical and dental bills for the 2 children. How old are your children, sir?
Almost 16 and 14.
And how long have you been divorced?
Since 1995.
What are these medical and dental bills for?
For dental treatment for Tracy, for a gum condition which caused her teeth to become loose and
So
swelling.
mostly dental bills?
Yes.
And how much were the dental bills?
The total dental bills was $781.
And that was for mostly routine care, not orthodontic work or anything else?
It's not for braces, no. Her teeth are porous and her gums are in poor condition.
Okay. Mr. Ballou, does your divorce decree provide that you're supposed to pay for half of the unreimbursed dental and medical bills?
Providing that she discusses the matter with me, yes, beforehand.
So you're supposed to be consulted?
Exactly.
And that's really your defense?
That
well, you
is.
have 2 defenses. One, that you weren't consulted, and the second one is that your fiancé, is that your fiancé, has a brother who's a dentist, and you would have taken your children to her brother.
That would have been my suggestion, yes, rather than send her to Oceanside, 100 miles away.
Was that the dentist that the children always used?
Not to my knowledge. We did have a dentist in Woodland Hills.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this question, Mr. Ballou. You made these 2 children with your former wife. She a good mother?
It's debatable.
If I asked her that question, if you're a good father, would she say debatable?
She would say I'm terrible. She's been persecuting me.
All right. This lady doesn't look like the kind of lady that would allow anybody to invasively cut into one of the children if it wasn't necessary. This isn't a big bill, Mr. Ballou.
No, it's not. The whole problem here is that she is doing something that she's not allowed to do. The court has ordered her to discuss the matter with me. If she chooses to do it on her own, then she should take responsibility on her own.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that if a judgment of divorce provides that there's supposed to be consultation, which I'm sure yours does, is that right?
But he knew.
That's not, knowing is not consulting, Mrs. Ballou. That's what his complaint is. You know, all too often when parties get divorced and they put that little phrase in the divorce decree, which is, you know, the non-custodial parent is to be consulted with regard to any non-emergency medical or dental treatment. People think that that's sort of a, you know, stock thing you don't have to pay much attention to. And Mrs. Ballou, the truth of the matter is that sometimes it's a very troublesome little clause, because if the non-custodial parent feels like your husband former husband feels, that, well, I'm the father and I should really be consulted because that's what it says there. I'm not just somebody who's supposed to write out a check.
Right.
I'm supposed to be a parent. And if we were together, the 2 of you would sit down over the kitchen table and say, this is a good dentist, and he would talk to you about it, and you would talk to him about it, and he would say, well, I guess we'll have to go and take care of it.
Can I expound on it a little bit?
Sure.
During the time of her visits, Mr. Ballou quit his employment, and I was facing relocation in August 1st. That's why we went to Oceanside, because I had inspected units to relocate and filed for a transfer to move down there because of...
Mr. Ballou, stop shuffling around with the papers. Listen to your former wife. Maybe you'll get something from it.
I was in the process of relocating because I ran out of money and he wasn't paying. That's why we went to Oceanside, because my mom was down there and she was going to help us out. Tracy's treatment wasn't one time. She went 5 different times because they had to break it apart. And he knew what she was going for, and he supported the action then.
How do you know he supported the action then?
Because he would say, that's good, that's fine, go down there and take care of it.
To whom did I... Sorry.
The weekend and the trips down there were arranged around his visitation, so it wouldn't interrupt the opportunity for him to see.
Okay.
I mean...
I'm not doubting, and he wouldn't tell me, if he was being honest, that he didn't know she was undergoing these treatments. You knew she was undergoing the treatments.
I knew she was going down there. I found out from my daughter.
You're the fiancé?
Yeah,
I would suggest if you want to be a good fiancé and be on reasonable terms with her, you not say anything.
But
long term, not just for a court date.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's an emotional thing. You want to stick it to her, right?
Yes. That money could have gone towards my kids rather than me having to sell my truck to pay for an attorney.
Whatever.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Cynthia Ballou wants her ex-husband, Joseph Ballou, to pay his share of their kids' medical and dental bills.
3 of you, I assume, are going to have to get along for a while. So they have a history together. You don't have a history. So.
But I know what's going on in the background that's not true.
I'm not interested in the background, madam. I'm interested in what I see. What I see is a dental bill for $781. She wants half. His defense is that this procedure was taken and done on one of his children without his being consulted first. That's his complaint. And that is against what the judgment of divorce provided for. Plaintiff says, if I'm gathering this correctly, that while he may not have been consulted, he certainly knew about the procedure, and you agree that you knew about the procedure because you were visiting with the children.
I knew that she was having work done.
Okay. So it's a rather novel issue, and something that you really have to work out long term because the kids have still a long way to go before they reach their majority. You have to consult him. Not just do it and tell him, because that's what the judgment of divorce provides for. And even if it didn't, it would be the right thing to do, to consult him. On the other hand, Mr. Ballou, she didn't do it this time. I'm directing her that she, in the future, whenever the children need non-emergency care, and I assume you're not talking about if the kids get a sore throat or get a strep or something and she has to take the kids for a relatively routine procedure that she has to call and consult with you first. You wouldn't expect her to do that, would you?
Well, she has union benefits that cover this. No, I would not expect it.
Even if she didn't, right? Because that's sort of silly. But this was an ongoing procedure that, you know, was costly. You wouldn't want your child to go without a procedure that was necessary. So in the future, Mrs. Ballou, in the future, you have to consult him.
Okay.
Because he is their father. You visit with the children?
Yes, I do.
Regularly?
Every other weekend I have them.
Great. When do you pick them up?
Usually, depending on whether or not I work on Saturday, either pick them up after work Friday or after work Saturday.
And you have a nice relationship with them?
Yes, I do.
That's good. You want to say anything else to me?
Well, I don't believe that she should be reimbursed this amount of money. Her reasons for her idea of discussing this is, be advised, Tracy has a dentist appointment on June 28th or June 29th. She sued me for costing me $8,000 last year, suing me for $1 million, which that money could have gone towards my kids rather than me having to sell my truck to pay for an attorney.
Is that an old lawsuit that's over?
This is, yeah, she dropped it right before she filed this lawsuit.
What kind of $1 million lawsuit? I'm just curious.
He went to my bank in December and obtained my bank records without a subpoena or consent. Then filed for a modification of child support stating he didn't have enough money to pay child support and quit his job shortly thereafter.
Okay, so what you were being sued for was getting her bank records without her consent. Is that what you were suing him for, but then you
Yes.
dropped that lawsuit?
Yes, we narrowed down the responsible parties.
Whatever.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Mr. Ballou, listen to me. You have 2 kids. You are always going to have these 2 children as your responsibility. Trust me, even when they're past 18 or 21 years old, they're still going to be expensive. Right now, your bill for this, Mr. Ballou, your half is $390. Not such a big deal. I am, however, advising you, Mrs. Ballou, that writing him a note saying to him, you are advised that Tracy is going for this treatment, is not the same as consultation. Consultation is talking to him before the fact. It's an emotional thing, right?
Yes.
You should not unreasonably withhold your consent because you have to think about what's in the best interest of the children, not that you want to stick it to her. And you shouldn't feel as if you want to stick it to him for any reason either by giving him one of these, I'm advising you that. It's just not the right thing to do. Try to be nice to each other. You don't live with each other. It's easier. So I'm awarding you your $390, but with this proviso, madam. In the future, consult means consult, not dictate. You got it?
Okay.
Perfect. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, Keisha Johnson had him falsely arrested for spying on her with a camera and threatening her with a gun.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 238 on the calendar in the matter of Walker versus Johnson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
All right, I had a little bit of confusion about these papers. So first we have to figure out where you live and how you know each other. Because what I gather is you work in the complex where she lives?
No, Your Honor, I'm the manager there.
Well, that's working there.
Yes.
So you work in the complex where she lives?
Yes.
Don't say no all the time.
No.
Sometimes you have to say yes.
Yes.
And according to this complaint, you were sitting in your van one evening. You have a van, sir?
Yes.
You don't live in the van?
No.
You live in an apartment?
I live in an apartment above the...
Above her?
Yes, the defendant, yes.
And according to these papers, somebody told you that he was using a camera from his van.
Actually, I saw him first in his van looking up into my apartment.
Okay.
Then I was
then
told.
somebody told you.
Yes.
Is that person here today who told you?
No.
Somebody, according to your papers, told you that he had a camera.
Yes.
Was taking pictures.
Yes.
You never saw that?
No.
So what did you do?
At that time, I went downstairs to approach him at his van, which is parked right in front of my balcony, where you can see into my living room if the curtains are open. I knocked on the van. He opened the door. He knew exactly who I was. Then I pointed to my balcony and I said, Mr. Walker, my friend said, that's as far as I got. And when he cocked his gun and started to curse at me, excuse my language, he said, what the f do you want? What the f are you gonna do? And at that time, I put my hands up and I backed off the van and I said, excuse me.
So you saw a gun?
Yes.
Okay. So you saw that and you went upstairs and you called the police?
Yes.
About how much later did the police arrive? You must have known when you called the police and when the police arrived.
It took them probably 5 to 10 minutes to get there.
Were you watching the van all this time?
No. No, at that time, when I went in to call the police, as soon as I hung up, because our walls are very thin, you can hear people running up and down the stairs. I heard him go up to his apartment and come back down, and he knocked on my door and said, let's talk about this. And I told him, no, get away from my door.
Did you knock at her door?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, the police arrived. Where were you when the police arrived?
In front of her door, talking to her.
And police took a complaint and placed you under arrest?
Yes, that is correct.
And they took you to the police station?
No. At first, he went out to the squad car, whereby he took some more information. And the officer asked me, did I have any medical problems? And I said, yes. So I suffer from hypertension. So he in turn called the ambulance, and they put me in an ambulance and took me to the county hospital, which is Howland Hospital.
Did anybody search your home?
No, they only searched the van for the camera and the gun, which I didn't find either. The officers didn't find either.
But like I said before, he went up to his apartment.
I'm following
first.
you. You don't have to say it more than once to me. I'm pretty quick on the draw.
Okay.
So they took you to the hospital first, and then you were medically cleared?
Yes. And then they took me to county city jail.
Okay, and how long did you spend in city jail?
36 hours.
And what happened with this case?
It was dismissed. I went to court twice, and no charge was filed against me.
Now, Mr. Walker, so what you're suing her for is for false arrest?
Yes.
And in order for you to be able to establish to my satisfaction that this was a false arrest, I have to be perfectly satisfied that you didn't have a gun on that day. Do you understand?
Yes,
now
most definitely.
She says that she saw a gun in your hand.
No way. No, I did not have a gun, Your Honor, because what preceded this incident, the evening before, I called the police twice. And the reason being because the witness there, her roommate or lover, whatever, came in and challenged me about a parking space. And I told her straight away, when they moved in, there's nobody have any reserved parking space. There's plenty of parking space, and so therefore, I'm not going to move my vehicle because I had parked underneath the carport to do some work on my van. And she came insulted me, so I had enough of it. So I called the police first. They came by.
Her, just a second. So you called the police and had her arrested?
No, I just called the police to have them quit harassing me.
That's not
true. Just a minute.
Just a second. That's his story. Just relax.
Okay. I got you.
Just sit there.
I'm cool.
Get hold of yourself. So you think that this whole incident was in retaliation?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes, because the police was there the first time. She just came, and the other two women was in the back, and they got together talking. And then after she left, went up to her apartment, the other party persists to insult me, and I called him for a second time. Now, he came out, he said, well, this is enough. That's okay. You talk to her. But by that time, she had left. I have had no problems with this individual since he moved there in February of this year.
What were you doing in your van that day, sir?
I was working on the van under the carport, specifically doing minor tune-ups because I had planned, myself and another neighbor had planned to go fishing the next day.
No. When the van was parked at the time that she came down and knocked at the door to the van, was it under the carport?
No, it was parked on the parking lot in back of the building, which I have pictures of.
It wasn't parked in the carport?
No, it was not parked in the carport.
So, and you had said that when you wanted to do some work on the van, you parked it under the carport?
Yes.
Okay. So then, for some reason, you moved the van out of the carport?
Yes.
Into the parking area?
Yes, that is correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
she stepped up, said snake, snake, and backed up against the wall.
I don't particularly like snakes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Thomas Walker is accusing Keisha Johnson for having him locked up under false pretenses. Keisha says she saw him taking pictures of her through a window. When she approached him, he pulled a gun on her.
Okay, what made you decide to take the car out from under the carport to do this mechanical work and put it outside to do
After I had finished, I moved it out because I can look out of my back window to see my van. It had been broken into twice since I've been there, which is about 10 years. And so therefore, I park it in the parking lot rather than leaving it on the carports. And
All
also,
right, so wait, now, so you're outside in your van, and you'd already finished working on it because
Yes.
you say that you weren't going to work on it outside, you were just parking it outside. So what were you doing with it in the van outside?
after I finished work on my van, it's about 7 o'clock that evening, I went out to buy some groceries because, as I said, we had intended to go fishing the next day. So I parked it on the back, and after I came back, I said, wait a minute, I'm going to sleep in my van. We're supposed to leave at 5 a.m. that Wednesday morning. So I'm going to sleep in my van, so therefore nobody will come and slash my tires, which has happened before. So the person's supposed to come over at 5 o'clock, and then we're supposed to go fishing the next day. So that's why
Mr.
I parked
Walker.
it. Yes.
That's a good fish story you just told me, Mr.
Well,
Walker.
I mean, you can believe it if you want.
That's a good
but I
fish.
didn't go fishing.
Just a
You
second.
can believe
That's
that
good.
also.
You started fishing the night before, sir.
Not necessarily, no.
You expect me to believe, I mean, you make this a good story, that you decided to sleep in your van because you didn't want your car tire slashed, and it just so happens that somebody saw you with a camera and a gun. I am not convinced, sir, that you are going to be able to establish to my satisfaction, based upon these fish stories that you told me so far, that she did not, in fact, see a gun in your hand when she went down to the van and knocked at the door in the early morning hours that night. So, and she, once having seen that gun, she had perfectly good and valid reason to go inside and call the police. Now, you also, realizing that you might be in some difficulty, ran up to your apartment, brought the gun upstairs, then came down to her apartment and said, why don't we just talk about this whole thing? Let's see if we can forget about it, you know, forget about the whole incident.
That sounds credible, but that's not the way it happened.
It's pretty close. Your case is dismissed, that's all.
No
Parties
problem.
are excused. You may step out.
It's virtually impossible to take a picture of her apartment located where the van is located, even if I'd have stood on top of it.
Mr. Walker cool, right? He's cool. But the littlest thing will set him off. I got a little dog. She runs around on his feet, little miniature Yorkshire Terrier. She runs around his feet. The little dog, on my feet. He gets mad. He gets upset. We cool. You and Mr. Walker. Hopefully, you know, I just have to keep an eye on my little dog when she goes outside, and she might get run over by the van. You know?
And now the next case.
Parties on McLaurin versus Cox. Step forward, please.
Receptionist Carolyn McLaurin says corrections officer Jeffrey Cox's pet python so frightened her, it made her sick.
All right, Ms. McLaurin, you and the defendant either work at or did work at the same place. Is that right?
Yes.
Where was that?
It's at the California Department of Corrections in Lancaster.
And what kind of work did you do?
I was a telephone receptionist.
And what kind of work did you do?
I'm a correctional officer at that facility, ma'am.
Okay. And Mr. Cox, there came a time, what was the date?
July the 31st.
Of last year?
Yes, 1997.
That you did a very foolish thing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And for the record, why don't you tell me about this foolish thing that you did?
My wife owns a pet shop, and at the administration building outside the facility, I had a person that I was selling a reptile to. Outside the prison is the building that I walked into, and she was...
Just a minute. So you brought a reptile. When you say a reptile, what kind of a reptile?
It was approximately a 4-foot red-tailed boa snake. I have pictures of the snake and the...
So you brought the snake into work?
Not into work, ma'am. I was on my day off, and it was the building outside the prison itself.
Where she worked?
Right.
So it was part of the prison complex?
Yes, ma'am.
So you brought this creature. I don't particularly like snakes. Most women don't like snakes, and I know I'll probably get a lot of mail from women who say, I love snakes. Do you like snakes, Bird?
I like snakes.
It's a guy thing, you know.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। आज की जो मेरा टॉपिक है वो आसिफ अली जरदारी के बारे में है। आसिफ अली जरदारी was born 26 July 1955 is a Pakistani politician who became the fourth president of the Pakistan on 10 March 2024, having held the same office from 208 to 2013. He is the president of the Pakistan People Party Parliamentarians and was the co-chairperson of the Pakistan People Party from December 2007 until December 2015. He earlier served as the 11th president of the Pakistan from 2008 to 2013. The first president born after the independence. He is the windower of the twice elected Prime Minister of the Pakistan, Benazir Bhutto. He was a member of the National Assembly of the Pakistan from 2018 to 2023 and in 2024 the son of the Hakim Ali Zardari, a landowner from Sindh. Zardari rose to prominence after his marriage to the Benazir Bhutto in 1987, who became the Prime Minister of the Pakistan after her election in 1988, when the Bhutto government was dismissed by the President Ghulam Ishaq Khan in 1990. Zardari was widely criticized from the evasion of the corruption scandal that led to his collapse. When the Bhutto was re-elected in 1993, Zardari served as the Federal Investigation Minister and Chairman of the Pakistan Environmental Protection Council, thereby increasing the tension between Bhutto brothers Murtaza and Zardari, and the Murtaza was killed by the police in Karachi on 20 December 1986. Bhutto government was dismissed a month later by the Prime Minister President Farooq Ligari, and Zardari was arrested and indicated for the Murtaza murder and for the corruption. All thought incriminated. He nominally served in the parliament after being elected to the National Assembly in 1999 and Senate in 1997. He was released from jail in 2004 and went into the self-exile to Dubai, but returned when the Bhutto was assassinated on December 2007 as the new co-chairman of the People Party. He led his party to victory in 2008 general elections. He supplied a coalition that forced the military rules Pervez Musharraf to resign and was elected the president on the 6th September 2008. He was acquitted from the various criminal charges in the same years as President Zardari remained a strong American all in the war in Afghanistan, despite prevalent public disapproval of the United States following the Raymond Davis incident and the NATO attack in Salalah in 2011. Domestically, Zardari achieved the passage of the 18th Amendment to the Constitution in 2010, which the Constitution reduced his president power. His attempt to prevent the resentment of the Supreme Court judge fell in the force of massive protest led by the political rebel Nawaz Sharif. The restored Supreme Court dismissed the People Party elected Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani for the contempt of the court in 2012 after Gilani refused to write the government of Switzerland to reopen the corruption case against the Zardari. Zardari's tenure was also criticized for mishandling nationwide flood in 2010 and growing the terrorist violations following multiple bombings of Hazara in Quetta in early 2013. Following the multiple bombing of Hazara in Quetta in 2013, Zardari dismissed his provincial government in Balochistan. Toward the end of the terms, Zardari recorded abysmally low approval rating ranging from the 11 to 14% After the People Party was heavily defeated in 2013 general elections, Zardari became the country's first elected president to the complete constitution term on 19 December 2018. His legacy remained distinguished with political observance, corruption and colonialism. However, he became the president of Pakistan again in the March 2024 due to the coalition's agreement which was reached the following 2024 Pakistani general elections.